Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over every single Pokemon in BDSP, and we're going to be talking about every single best nature for most situations for them. Now, I'm generally the type of person that says there is no best for anything, so take all of these little analyses with a grain of salt here. But what I'll be doing is giving you the correct nature if you're breeding these Pokemon for just general play. So the general best nature for most situations for most of these Pokemon. I'll also be doing my best to explain why the nature is the best nature. I'm not just going to say, oh yeah, Charizard timid move. I'll be trying to explain why the moves that they use. We'll be taking a look at a bunch of the stats on these Pokemon. And hopefully everyone learned something. I did one of these for the Let's Go games, and it was a generally well-received video. And I've got a bunch of people asking me if I'll do it for this one. I don't know if we'll get through the whole list. It's going to take a really long time. But you know what? I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So the first thing that we're going to need to do this is a list of Pokemon. I have that right here. So we're just on Pokemon DB. I prefer Pokemon DB over Cerebi just because it feels a lot more like Maryland did back in the day. I like the way when you go and inspect a Pokemon here, right here. I like the way that it shows easy access of all the moves that they get, moves on evolution, egg moves, shows the level they were and everything. So it's just my personal opinion to use Pokemon DB, and that's probably what we're going to be using for most of the video today. But thank you everyone for joining me. If anyone has any questions on stream, definitely feel free. You guys can interrupt me. You guys can ask me all the stuff you want. This is going to get put on YouTube as well. So if anyone that's going to be watching on YouTube has questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave those in the comments. So let's start into this. Absolutely love your Blissey build. It came in clutch so many times. Blissey's busted. I agree. So the first Pokemon going to be Venusaur. And Venusaur's a really cool Pokemon. It's, obviously been better in Sword and Shield and stuff like that. If we take a look at Venusaur here, the number one thing we want to take a look at when looking at these Pokemon and we're trying to figure out what natures to make them, are you generally want to take a look at their base stats. Venusaur's not the best example of this, but generally what you want to do is you want to make their highest stats where you want to put your nature. So if there's any Pokemon you're looking at and you generally want a good rule of thumb of what nature you should put those stats into, it's generally a good rule of thumb to put them into their highest stats. Case in point, in Let's Go, the best natures for Venusaur were things like Modest, things like Calm and stuff like that. I personally feel that, you can even talk about sometimes using a timid Venusaur just because Venusaur gets the Chlorophyll ability, which is going to double its speed in the sun. So I think that that's something worth noting. Venusaur doesn't necessarily need to have speed investment with timid nature if it's going to be Chlorophyll in this game. The only reason why it needed timid in Sword and Shield was because there's a lot more faster Pokemon like Pheromosa, Zacian, Regieleki, Dragapult. Venusaur doesn't really need the nature plus Eevee's investment to actually outspeed those things in this game because those aren't in this game. So I would say you can get away with Modest on Venusaur probably. Probably going to be Modest, which is a plus special attack, lowering attack nature. So that's Venusaur. Venusaur's a pretty good Pokemon, and I do think the Venusaur kind of just falls short in comparison to the other grass starters. Not the other grass starters, but there's better Chlorophyll mons in this game, I think. There's just we'll get to them when we get to them. But yeah, Venusaur's can be built Modest. Normally they're built special attackers. Things like Sleep Powder. It doesn't get access to Weather Ball or Earth Power anymore. Meaning it only really has Leaf Storm, Sludge Bomb, which isn't really that great, which means we're not going to see a lot of Venusaur compared to Sword and Shield. It also loses its G-Max form, which is super important. As for Charizard, there's a few different ways you can play Charizard, but most people are going to probably want to play it timid. And you may say, that's it, but its special attack stats higher, so we should be modest. Well, this is a really, really unique situation where base 100 is probably going to be the most popular speed tier for this whole format. And basically, if anything's slower than base 100, it's slow. And if it's base 100 or faster, it's fast. There's a lot of base 100 speed Pokemon. There's going to be Charizard, Salamence, Staraptor, Zapdos. There's a million more of them. They're all base 100. Ninetales, Typhlosion. You're starting to see a pattern. And so, because base 100 is so common, if we were Modest, we would just lose to every single other base 100 Pokemon that decided to be timid or jolly. So in this case scenario, if you want to be safe and you always want to at least make your opponents have to speed tie you to go first, it's probably a better idea to go timid in this situation if you're using a special attacker Zard. You can use a physical attacker Zard, but in that case, you would go jolly. But yeah, with Charizard, you're generally going to want to go timid. In this game, the common Charizard sets are going to be things like Life Orb and Choice Scarf. Choice Spec sees a little bit of play, but remember, there's no like heavy duty boots in this game. There's no Assault Vest. You could go for damage reduction berries, but they're not as popular in this game. Choice Scarf Zard is probably the best one. It gets like Air Slash, Flamethrower, and then sometimes you might even still see, even on like Timid Zards, you might still see them tech Earthquake to beat Heatrans. But that's basically it. Charizard's not that common in these games, and even though it does get access to like solar power still, it just doesn't hit as hard as it would be in Sword and Shield, because that's generally, in Sword and Shield, the only reason why you see Zard play is because of its G-Max, and even without like G-Max involved, it's good against things like Zacian and other, there's a lot more steel types in that game like Kartana for Zard to take advantage of. Just so chat knows, just because something is under base 100 doesn't mean it's too slow to be usable. That's true. Yeah, so like Arcanine, for example, is base 95. And Arcanine, again, I would still make it jolly to capitalize on the Pokemon that are going to be base 100 that decide to be Adamant or Modest. Because some Pokemon like Salamence that have like moves to increase their own speed, they might actually still be Adamant on those Pokemon because they have speed increasing moves or abilities or something like that. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. Yeah, I would say anything slower than base 80 is slow. That's probably the actual threshold. Like 80 to 99 is going to be the mid-range to where you're kind of just doing okay. Up next is going to be Blastoise. And so Blastoise, one really big thing Blastoise gets in this game is Shell Smash that it didn't actually have in the previous gens. Even though it does get Shell Smash, it doesn't need to be timid. I see a lot of people going like 252 speed, 252 special attack, timid Blastoise. You don't need to do that. Blastoise is fast enough. You can probably still get away with going Modest in this situation. Or you can even go physical Blastoise if you wanted to. But most people tend to go with like a Modest or Adamant Blastoise. And if you're going timid Blastoise, you're wasting a lot of points that you don't need to be wasting. So while it's acceptable, it works. It's not like the best thing. But normally with Blastoise, you're going to see like mixture of like Shell Smash, Rapid Spin, and then like Ice Beam, Surf. And a lot of times people like to go Surf on Blastoise over Scald if they're running a Shell Smash set, just because you're actually looking to pick up KOs after the Shell Smash. And yeah, Scald can burn, but like, I don't want to burn you, I want you gone. So it's one of those few situations where Surf's just a little bit better. It's also better on like Manaphy, for example. Also Manaphy, another base 100 Pokemon that Charizard should have to respect. Up next, my boy Butterfree, best Pokemon in the game. Butterfree is usually built timid, and it's basically always going to be built timid. 70's a bit slow, and so to keep up with things, also to keep up with things like Breloom and stuff like that, Butterfree does need to be timid to go for those Compound Eyes boosted sleep powders. You could talk about going Modest Butterfree if you want, but more special attack doesn't mean anything if you can't actually hit them. So it's a lot better just to go with the timid, be as fast as you possibly can be, force your opponents to be as fast as they possibly can be as well, and take advantage of that. Like, you're going to be able to outspeed a lot of things that you wouldn't think you'd be able to outspeed with Butterfree if you just put full speed investment into it. And again, just going for those sleep powders. A sleep powder is going to allow you to get a Quiver Dance. A Quiver Dance is going to allow you to win the game. So it's super, super important. Man, we've already done 1, 2, 3, 4. I have how many more Pokemon to go? Oh my goodness, it's about to be a Christmas Day miracle. Sea Angel, thank you for the follow. Beedrill. I fought one of these in today's YouTube video. Beedrill is going to be built... See, I still think in this situation, if you're going to Scarf it, you would go Jolly. And if you're going to be playing like an Endeavor set like the one I fought, I'd still go Jolly. You don't really need the Adamant. And if you're really prioritizing going speed, like if you don't need your attack stat for something specific, you're starting to see a pattern. It's generally in Gen 4 really a good idea to go big into speed on these Pokemon that have like nothing to lose. These like glass cannons, just go full speed. Just because you want to be able to function at like this speed tier. Because like I said, if I'm going full speed Butterfree and you go full speed Beedrill, you're going to be able to hit me first, which depending on if I'm at full, if I've already lost my sash, you're going to be able to greatly take advantage of me in that situation. And all because you're timid. Sorry, all because you're Jolly. And again, Jolly because Beedrill's a physical attacker. Normally, Beedrill's built more as like, I guess the one that we saw was like a Focus Sash Endeavor set in today's YouTube video. That was pretty cool. But normally I would say Beedrill's more of like a Choice Scarf U-Turnermon. So Choice Scarf on a base 75 speed's not that bad. It's not that bad. I don't think that's terrible. I can outspeed enough things. I don't think it outspeeds base 130s. But you're going to be able to like Revenge KO like Weaviles and stuff like that, which can be pretty nice. But like U-Turn, Poison Jab, might still have the Endeavor, and then like maybe like one other move for coverage. Beedrill doesn't get like amazing coverage. It gets like Toxic Spikes in this game. Let's see. Maybe like an Aerial Ace or something. Yeah, you just throw the Giga Impact on there. It's okay, Mon, though. It's okay. Pidgeot. So this thing, again, doesn't have its Mega Evolution just like Beedrill. And Pidgeot, if we take a look at its stats, it gets to 101 base speed, which means that's actually a really niche, like really, really good speed stat. Because again, it's 1 base speed faster than all those base 100s. So you definitely want to be with a speed boosting nature. Now, I'd recommend Physical, just because it's the best set this thing gets. But it gets some pretty cool moves, I think, in terms of special attacks. I know it used to get Heat Wave. I don't think it gets Heat Wave in this game. It does get Hurricane. And that's it. Hurricane, Hyper Beam. That's pretty much it. So this thing's going to be built way better physical with things like U-Turn, Roost, Defog for singles, and then just like standard like flying attacks and stuff like that. So Pidgeot's okay, but you definitely want to be with like a speed boosting nature, and I would recommend Jolly in this situation. How do I do this? How do I pronounce this? Arca XD1. Yo, 2 months. Thank you. Thank you for that sub. Unless I Mega Evolve Charizard, I can't really use it without getting one shot. Mega Charizard's attack and defense stats are boosted, making it a bit more tanky. That's why I said Scarf Zard's probably the best Zard in this meta, because it doesn't have to worry about being slow. You just Scarf it. But yo, thank you. Thank you so much for that sub. Appreciate it. I'm going to put some subs up for that. I really, really appreciate that. I do be appreciating that. All right, Radicate. Not really seeing that much Radicate. But let's see, Radicate here. So Radicate, 97. And so this is one of those situations I was talking about, similar to like Arcanine. When you're close to base 100, it's sometimes still a really good idea to be like a Jolly or Timid nature to force your opponents to do the same. Because a base 97 speed Pokemon that's Jolly will outspeed a base 100 Pokemon that's Modest or Adamant. The boost that you get from nature is a 10% boost. So it's really, really important that we put that to use on some of our highest stats. So I would still go Jolly on Eradicate. Obviously, Eradicates are built more like Endeavor, Quick Attack, big normal attacks, usually like a U-turn or something. But that's pretty much it for Eradicate. Loved your Let's Go version of this guide. Glad you're doing one for BSP. Well, here I am. Here I am. It's a Christmas Day miracle. Firo. Firo is base 100 as well, I think. And so this guide's helping you guys learn your base stats. It's important. You gotta be Jolly. Firo's usually built physical, similar to Pidgeot. That's basically it. You have to be Jolly on this thing. It gets... Basically, with these Pokemon, if I'm like not going over what type of moves they use, just use your stab moves. So like Pidgeot's going to get like big flying attacks. You might want to go with like a U-turn. If it gets like Defog or Roost, that's probably the best thing this thing's going to get. I don't think it gets Swords Dance. I don't know if it gets Taunt. Like these moves are not great. Like Wing Attack so far like your best attack. Drill Peck, there it is. So Drill Peck, good move. Drill Peck, Drill Run, probably U-turn, and that's basically it. It gets like Defog, you know? So not that great of a Pokemon. There's a reason Firo doesn't really get used. But you definitely want to be Jolly in that situation. Arbok comes with a bunch of really cool abilities, being like Intimidate and Unnerve, two really, really, really good abilities. And the cool thing about Arbok is you can go a couple different ways with this. Base 80 is like the requirement for being like Scarf. So if you're going to run like a Scarf Arbok with like a +1 speed, you'd want to be Jolly. To be able to like revenge KO things and outspeed the correct amount of Pokemon. You need to be Jolly to do that. I don't recommend full speed Scarf Arbok. I think Adamant is probably the right way to play it. You can also play a little bit more Impish or Careful if you wanted to go like a bulkier Arbok spread. Arbok generally, in terms of like move sets, it doesn't get like a ton. You're usually going to use Glare with Arbok. Glare's like the really, really good ability that Arbok gets, or sorry, really good move that it gets. It paralyzes the target, and it can be hit against like ground moves and stuff like that. So it's really, really good. It has a 100% hit rate, which is buffed from like the past. Like back in Gen 4, it was like a 70% hit rate, and so Glare's like really good on Arbok. So you use like Glare. You can use all the different like Fangs and stuff like that. You got Crunch. You got big stab poison attack. And I think Arbok also gets Earthquake. Yeah, Earthquake right here. Iron Tail. You can see it gets a bunch of cool moves. It gets Sucker Punch for some reason. So usually people like to use physical Arbok. You can also mix in like a full Scarf Arbok, like I said, with that Jolly nature and go like beat up or something. That'd be super cool to see. Like I'd probably drop a game to that if I was playing against it. But yeah, Arbok's usually built Adamant best ability. Best nature. Then something like Impish or Careful, with Jolly being the other option if you wanted to go with a Scarf set. Okay, Glare doesn't work against like Rotom because it's electric type. Actually, I think it does. Glare paralyzes the target. If it hits, paralyzed Pokemon have 25% chance of not being attacked. Electric type Pokemon, those with the ability Limber or Bind Sub cannot be paralyzed. Yeah, so you can't paralyze electric types. You used to be able to back in Gen 4, though. You used to be able to back in Gen 4. As for Pikachu and Raichu, they're both different. They get played very differently. With Pikachu, you're going to want to go physical. usually. Can you look at my team for a tournament? We're not looking at teams for tournaments right now. We're doing a full list. But anyways, for Pikachu, they're normally built like with Lightning Rod, and then they normally get built with like a Light Ball, right? They normally get built with a Light Ball. So normally with Pikachu, you want to be either physical or special, and so it's going to be timid or jolly. And I would say that they're probably built, remember guys, the Light Ball doubles your attack and special attack, and so I would say it's easier to be physical. If I think the Light Ball's in this game, you want to use Volt Tackle, right? It's a 120 base move, and so you'd be jolly for that one, and that one's a lot better in doubles. You pair it with like Fake Out and stuff like that, so it's pretty good. The special variant would use things like Surf and Thunderbolt and stuff like that, and that's obviously built timid. So if you're physical, you want to be jolly, and if you're special, you want to be timid. Pretty easy peasy for Raichu. Sorry, for Pikachu. For Raichu, though, you always want to be timid. Raichu is a really good mon because it gets a 110 base speed, which is going to super outspeed all those other guys at base 100. And another cool thing about Raichu is it gets access to like Encore and a bunch of other unique status moves, as well as like Fake Out for doubles, so you can have a much higher Fake Out speed turn than your opponents. So for Raichu, you always want to be timid. Like if you're modest, you will be outsped by timid base 100s and jolly base 100s. So you definitely always want to be timid in this Pokemon if you're putting any speed stat into it. Again, Raichu has like completely removed sets for singles and doubles. I fought against a really good singles Raichu today that was choice specs that was cool. But I'll talk about like the specific Pokemon when I get to them, guys. We'll get to Machamp eventually. But yeah, Raichu's super good. I think timid's just the best nature for it. We're on to Sandslash now. Sandslash is actually one of the only Pokemon in this game that gets Sandrush. It's one of the only Pokemon in this game that gets Sandrush. Super good mon. And because its speed stat so low, you have to be jolly. That's like generally the only option. Because Speed Rush is going to double this stat, and you actually like need it to be doubled to be like actually usable. Adamant's okay, but then you're not outspeeding the Pokemon you actually need to outspeed to make this Pokemon work correctly. So you have to be jolly if you're going to be using a Sandrush set. If you're, and again, Veil just got banned, so you have to be using that. If you're using a wall set though, which is Rapid Spin and Stealth Rocks, you can totally get away with going Adamant. I would say Impish is probably the best on like a standard wall set. I'm still trying to work out EVs to put on my doubles Raichu. It'll totally be timid. So if you're looking for EVs to put on your Raichu, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going just like full special attack, full speed if you're going to sash it. If you're going to sash it or shuck it, like just go full speed because you need the full speed to work. You need to function at this speed tier, and there's not really anywhere else that you would want those stats. You could put them in HP, you could put them a little bit in defense or something like that, but I prefer, if I'm going to sash it, I just going full special attack. What's Sandrush? Sandrush is an ability that doubles your speed in the Sandstorm. So if you pair Sandslash with like a Tyranitar or a Hippowdon, it doubles its speed stats, similar to like Excadrill. And since Excadrill's not in the game, Sandslash is the de facto Sandrush mon. Nidoqueen. I've used a lot of Nidoqueen recently in Gen 4. It gets like Sheer Force, which is a super good ability. Nidoqueen can do a lot. You can go with a timid or jolly Nidoqueen. You can go with an adamant or modest Nidoqueen. You can go with an impish, or, you know, Nidoqueen can basically have almost any ability as long as it boosts a stat. So anything that's not like a neutral nature, like serious or quirky, it just depends on how you want to play it. My personal favorite way to play Nidoqueen is, let's see, what is my, I've played a lot of Calm Nidoqueen, which boosts my special defense and lowers my attack, and then I play Nidoqueen a little bit special with like Earth Power Ice Beam. That's how I like to play Nidoqueen. But there's also a lot of ones that like boost defense, lower special attack, which is impish, and you put like Earthquake and stuff on it with like Stealth Rocks, like Dragon Tail or Roar or stuff like that. Nidoqueen's super good. It gets Toxic Spikes, it can get Stealth Rock, very underrated mon. Great like anti-meta lead, because it also gets access to Taunt. And the fact that it has like a decent speed stat means you can always just taunt their Stealth Rock setters if they're leading with like a Solar Stealth Rock setter. Soak any damage that a Stealth Rock setter would be able to do to you. Set your own rocks, be able to potentially KO things with like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Earth Power, Earthquake, Ice. I think it might get the Elemental Punch. I don't really remember. But yeah, Nidoqueen's a great mon. And yeah, look at that moveset, like Earth Power, Super Power still. It still gets beat up, which is surprising. But yeah, we get a lot of really cool moves. It gets all like the big special attacks. It gets a lot of good physical attacks too. Flamethrower, Stab, Sludge Bomb's always nice to see. So definitely respect Nidoqueen when you're building your teams. But just know that it can have almost any nature. I think that Impish or Calm are going to be probably the better ones though. As for Nidoking, Nidoking's a little bit different. You generally only want to run Nidoking special, and you want to pair it with that Sheer Force ability. And because Nidoking has a much more aggressive stat line, you would think that you want to make it like Adamant. But a lot of Nidoking's moves that benefit from Sheer Force do not actually work. They're not physical, sorry. So it's like Earthquake doesn't get a Sheer Force boost, so there's not really a reason to go with like a physical Nidoking. You're better off going special Nidoking in almost every situation to really benefit from the fact that like 85 special attack is not terrible. So you'd be boosting like Ice Beams, Thunderbolts, Earth Power, Sludge Bombs, Flamethrowers. And then in that situation, you usually do want to go with like a Scarf, Timid Nidoking to be able to revenge KO stuff. You could also think about going Specs, but you'd have to pair that with like a Sticky Web team. You don't really need that much special attack on this guy because he's going to be hitting things for usually 4x super effective moves. What do you think about Sheer Force? Scarf Nido? That's what I just said. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's generally better to be scarfed on this guy, and if you're gonna scarf it, you should definitely be timid. Otherwise, you're just gonna get outsped by stuff. So really, really good set, and yeah, just throw your big special attacks on this guy. It's gonna be a good spot. Fable. Oh man, we are not gonna be able to finish this today. I'm just realizing, like, oh my gosh, this list is gonna take forever. We've already been doing it for a half an hour, and we're like 10 Pokemon in. Fable's really good though. It's probably one of the best walls in singles, and it's really good in doubles too because it gets Follow Me. But usually the best ability for this thing's gonna be Unaware, making it so you don't have to really care about your opponent's stat boosts. And then from there, look at the stat line. It's really, really good. It has a great special attack. So if you wanted to go Modest, you totally could. But I prefer to play this Pokemon Bold, which is boosting defense, lowering attack. And the reason being is you want to always be able to make sure your Clefable can eat like 3 to 4 Earthquakes from things like Garchomp, can eat at least 1 to 2 Bullet Punchers from Scizor. All the things that I'm getting ahead of myself. All the things Clefable's really afraid of are going to be physical attacks other than Gengar. And it already has like natural bulk to where if you put a lot of points in HP, your special defense is going to make it so you can eat 1 Sludge Bomb unless they're spexed. So you want to put like heavy HP defense with enough special attack for your moves to work with just a little bit of speed. So Clefable's going to be able to usually like Stealth Rocks, Ice Beam or Flamethrower, maybe a Moonblast, maybe a Moonlight. Some people like to throw Thunder Wave or other status moves on there, but Clefable can do a lot of cool stuff. Some people also like running Calm Mind on their Clefables, which again covers up for that sped up stat, which means you still want to go with like a bold nature as long as you're lowering your attack. So bold nature is probably what I'd recommend for this Pokemon. You can also talk about going like Modest and throwing a Life Orb on it with using like a Magikarp set, but I just don't recommend that. Breeding Gobbles right now, if you're interested, got a Rough Skin 1 from a Smeargle. No, I'm okay. I have a Rough Skin 1. Or I have it coming. All right, how many have we done? We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh my god. This might have to get broken up into a 4-part video. Because it takes a while. Let's take a look at Ninetales. Ninetales, it's going to be another one of those base 100 speed mons I talked about. This is such a popular number. And so because it's base 100, you have to be with the speed boosting nature. Otherwise, you just lose to every other base 100. That's kind of how Gen 4 works. Speed is really like important in Gen 4. So I would go Timid in this situation because Special Ninetales is going to be a lot better than Physical. It gets Drought, which is going to set the sun. So you can put Solar Beam on it. You can put Flamethrower on it. I don't recommend putting like Extra Sensory or any other moves like that on it. I'd recommend if you wanted to be a little bit cheeky, you could go like Hypnosis. You don't really need like Extra Sensory. The reason why you don't like moves like Extra Sensory is because even if that's super effective, right? Even if you're hitting like a Machamp, it doubles from 80 to 160. But like Flamethrower is a 90, which is Stab, which is a 1.5 boost, so it's a 45 boost, so it goes to 135. And then there's Sun, which is another 1.5. So it's actually always stronger to just use Flamethrower against like neutral mons than it ever is to use Extra Sensory. So you generally don't want to ever put these type of moves on mons. What about Heat Wave? I mean, Heat Wave's okay. I'm not a big fan of Heat Wave. You could talk about Heat Wave if it's for doubles, but we're mostly taking a look at singles. Another thing Ninetales gets is like Nasty Plot. It's a really good ability. Like I said, it gets Hypnosis if you want to use it. It gets Howl if you're going to play it in doubles. That's hilarious. Hilarious. Gets Calm Mind, Roar. Solar Beam is really, really important because you are able to charge your Solar Beam without having to charge it, really. You can just auto-cast your Solar Beams if it's in the sun. Overheat's another solid option. The only time you want to go with these moves that are weaker like this, that have like 80, is if they have like a common 4x weakness against something. So like if Ninetales got an Ice attack, we'd use that because it's super good at hitting like Garchomps and Gliscors. Dark Pulse can sometimes be 4x super effective against things, but it's generally not in this gen. Only in Gen 8 when like people would run like Lunalas and Calyrexes would you see people use like Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. But Ninetales is cool, but again, you still definitely want to be with that timid nature. Alright, Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff can do a lot of cool stuff. I think Wigglytuff's definitely like a slept-on Pokemon. It gets Frisk, which is an underrated ability in doubles, but it gets Competitive, which is a really good ability in both singles and doubles. Makes it so whenever you get your stats dropped by anything, you get a ×2 special attack boost. So it's the same thing as Melodic. It's a really, really good ability. It's great against like Intimidates. Look at this base HP stat. Fable's built similar to like Blissey and stuff like that, to where you don't really want, you get huge diminishing returns by putting points into HP. And you're much better off putting points in your defenses and other offensive stats first. So, like, for this thing, if you wanted to go with, like, a really aggressive set, you'd go, like, full special attack, full defense. You wouldn't put anything in HP. Say what item for Ninetales? You can do any item you want on Ninetales. Sash is a common item. Specs are a common item. Heat Rock's a common item. Sash is probably the most common item for Ninetales. But yeah, for Wigglytuff, I generally think that, like, some sort of... See, you could talk about going modest, but you could also talk about going quiet. The reason you want to go quiet is because it's a generally really slow mon. So if you want to go like a 0 IV speed reduced nature, you might be able to make Wigglytuff work in Trick Room. So that's totally an option. It gets a bunch of really good moves. It's also very normal type, so it has tons of resistances. Very, very underrated Pokemon here. But I would say something like Modest is really good. You could also talk about the Bold being good. You could talk about Calm being good. So all the natures that lower your attack stats are going to be really, really good on this guy. It gets a ton of AoE for VGC as well. It gets access to Hyper Voice, which is going to be a stabbed base 90. It's going to get access to Dazzling Gleam. It's going to get, I think it still gets like Perish Song. It gets Ice Beam. It gets Thunderbolt. Like I said, Dazzling Gleam, Solar Beam, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Flamethrower, Focus Blast. So these are all really, really good moves. And I think that as long as you're putting heavy points into special attack and bulk on your Wigglytuff, you're going to be in a good spot. Definitely chunky. Yeah, it's one of my favorite shinies too. I guess we'll take a look at Golbat or Crobat when we get to it, but the answer is like speed natured on that guy. Let's take a look at Vileplume. So Vileplume, you see, it has the Chlorophyll here, and unlike Venusaur, Vileplume has a much lower base speed. So if you at all want to make this Pokemon usable in a Chlorophyll, and you're going to go heavy, like full speed investment, you have to be like timid. You have to be full speed investment on Vileplume. Otherwise, when you double that 50, you're still too slow. So you have to be timid. Vileplume historically gets after you, which is a pretty underrated move. Let's see, we're after you. So after you is going to make it so it makes your teammate function at your own speed tier. So like an Vileplume that's boosted by the Chlorophyll to double its speed, it makes its teammate, you can, after your teammate, to make them function at Vileplume's Chlorophyll boosted speed tier. So you can use it on like your Torkoal, which sets the sum for the Vileplume, and make Torkoal fire with like a Choice Specs boosted AoE Eruption in VGC. It's one of my favorite ways to play it. Vileplume's a super cool Pokemon. It also gets like Strength Sap, it gets Sleep Powder, it gets Stab Sludge Bomb, you can use Solar Beam, but all those kind of in turn play in the fact that it likes to be timid. So timid's probably the best nature for it. If you're not playing like a Chlorophyll set, you would probably go like Modest or something on it. Alright, Parasect. Yo, Sassy's a pretty good nature for this guy last time I checked. Sassy is a pretty good nature for this guy. Again, the reason you want Sassy is because most of the things that threaten Parasect are going to be special attacks, fire attacks, ice attacks, you know, all those bad attacks. Rock attacks and flying attacks are 4 times, right? You will just die. You don't need to like put points in defense to stop those. And also, we already heavily resist a lot of like common physical attacks, so things like fighting and ground, we resist those. So we don't really need to put points in defense there. Specialty, though, is probably where it's going to be, and the reason we want Sassy is because it lowers our speed, so we actually want to be as slow as possible, and it's not necessarily for Trick Room. The reason you want to be slow as possible on Parasect is because you want to go for the slowest possible Spore. You want to soak damage with Parasect, and then Spore after they move. Remember, when sleep is like calculated, they have to be asleep the first turn. So you putting them to sleep means they haven't even started their sleep turns yet, which guarantees you getting up a sub or switching or doing whatever you want. You have a 1 guaranteed turn that they can't do anything. And it's different than when you just sleep powder something and it goes to sleep that turn, because that's the turn that they're wasting there. They could wake up the next turn and punish you. If you put them to sleep after soaking damage, though, they have to be asleep, so you don't have to really worry about it. And it just makes, you know, using Parasect a lot easier. Parasect is super good in VGC, super good in singles. I'd say it's better in VGC because it gets access to Rage Powder, which basically makes it play like an Amoonguss. It also gets access to Wide Guard as an egg move, so it's a really, really good move in VGC, and it's actually like usable as opposed to like an Amoonguss, which isn't in the game, because like Amoonguss doesn't get Wide Guard. Like imagine if Amoonguss got Wide Guard, how dumb VGC would be. Holy moly. It also gets access to Dry Skin, which is a really, really good ability. Obviously, it makes you take damage in the sun and makes you take more damage from fire type attacks. But what it also does is it makes it so you absorb damage from water attacks, and it makes it like a great switch in for teams that have like multiple fire weaknesses. Very, very good mon. Venom Moth. This thing's going to be built just like Butterfree. Basically, at what speed tier should we be build invest for bulk rather than speed? That's completely up to you. Like I talked about it. Anything slower than 80 is going to be slow. 80's that like mid-range to where if you have abilities to gain speed on those Pokemon, you plan on scarfing them, you still want to go speed investment. And then base 100 is where you still want to go full speed investment usually. So for example, like Togekiss can be built super bulky, but it's an 80 base speed mon. You can build that full HP, full bulk. You can also build Togekiss like full speed, full special attack, and just be a bully. It's completely up to you. So anything slower than 80 though, you're probably going to want to put points in HP over speed, unless they have ways to like double their speed or something. I wish Arcanine could have kept Wild Charge and Play Rough. It does have Play Rough. It still has Play Rough. You don't need Wild Charge. But let's take a look at Venom Moth here. Venom Moth's going to be built just like Butterfree. 90 base speed's a really, really good number. And remember, Venom Moth, like we talked about, has the ability to gain faster speed through the use of Quiver Dance. So I love Venom Moth. It can go for Sleep Powders. It has Tinted Lens, really, really good mon. As long as you hit your Sleep Powder, you're going to get a Quiver Dance, and it has really, really good moves. It stabs, Sludge Bomb. It can get things like Giga Drain. It gets Bug Buzz. Remember, Bug Buzz and stuff like that, sound-based moves go through Sub. So definitely respect Venom Moth. It gets like Psychic, Bug Buzz. He has like Restoration. It can Baton Pass, all those things. Very, very good mon. So definitely respect Venom Moth. As long as they hit their Sleep Powders, they're going to be in a really, really good spot. Venom Moth is actually scary big. Imagine a 5-foot moth coming at you IRL. Yeah, I believe it. The only Pokemon I've seen with Dry Skin was Toxstroke. There's a few Pokemon with Dry Skin. Dry Skin's a really, really good ability. Speaking about Pokemon with good abilities, Dugtrio here rocking the Arena Trap, making it so you can't switch anything that's grounded, so something that's not Levitated or not a flying Pokemon can't switch. Really, really good ability. We have a 120 base speed. So this is the fastest Pokemon we've looked at so far. And this is one of those things where I talk about you should try to play more to your strengths if you're already strong at something. Yes, it might seem attractive to go with like a Adamant Dugtrio to make it just a little bit stronger. Obviously, this thing's usually built with like a Sash. Usually they go like Stealth Rocks, Earthquake. Sometimes you see like Sucker Punch and usually like a Rock Attack to be able to hit flying types. But generally, you want to be the full speed Dugtrio with Jolly Nature. So you're forcing your opponents to be plus speed natures, and you know which ones you're outspeeding, right? If you want to go Adamant, you get outsped by Timid and Jolly base 110s. So you don't want to get outsped by Gengar. You want to get outsped by Raichu. Those are two Pokemon that are 110 that you outspeed. You want to make sure that you always outspeed those things. So you have to be Jolly to do that. Also, this helps you speed tie Alkazam, which is another base 120. So knowing all your speed tiers is super important. There's not that many Pokemon that are faster than Dugtrio. There's probably only like 5. There's like Aerodactyl, Crobat, and Jolteon at 130. Alkazam speed ties at 120. Weavile, I think, is 125. There might be like 1 or 2 more. Ninjask, obviously. Electrode, obviously. We don't really care about those, but Dugtrio is super fast. And obviously, we're not counting restricteds. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Persian. Persian's a cool mon. Persian is fast, right? So it's a 115. So we always want to outspeed those base 100s. We always want to outspeed those base 110s. And Persian's really good. It's a very, very fast fake out. It gets access to like Technician and stuff like that too, and a Nerf, both really good abilities. I think the Technician's a little bit better. You normally with Persian would go for like, you'd go like fake out, stab fake out, and then you would just U-turn, and you can stay in and use a bunch of moves if you want. You can also go with like, this is one of my favorite Persians, is like a Nasty Plot Persian. You see it right there, it gets Nasty Plot, and then it gets like a bunch of really good coverage moves. It gets access to like Thunderbolts, it gets access to like Water Pulse, which is boosted by the Technician, so it's one of the few Pokemon in the game that would ever want to use Water Pulse. It gets access to like standard stab moves, Shadow Ball, things like Dark Pulse, and it gets Hypnosis, it gets U-turn, bunch of cool moves on Persian. I think it's definitely a respectable mon. And even just like regular Persian is a good mon. Even if you're not, this is like even in singles or VGC, very, very good mon. But what you're going to want to do is go with a plus speed nature. So either Jolly or Timid. Jolly if you're physical, Timid if you're special. Never thought a ground type would be faster than electric type. Yeah, Dugtrio's speedy boy. Golduck. So Golduck gets Swift Swim, which is the generally ability a lot of people use. You only use Cloud9 if there's like a lot of like really, really good weather abilities. like weather mons, and that's not really the case right now. So Swift Swim's going to be its good ability, and it gets an 85 base speed, which is pretty quick, which means you don't actually, in this format, I don't think you need to be Timid Golduck. The only time you've ever seen people use Timid Golduck was back in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and that's because Rain was super big, and Golduck was just the fastest, most popular Rain abuser. And so the only time you would ever see people use Timid Golducks is when other people are using Golduck a lot, and there's a lot of better Swift Swim users right now, so we don't necessarily need to go Timid. I think Modest is probably good enough nature for this guy with just correct speed tiering to be able to potentially outspeed base 130s. So you'd probably have to put like 60 points in speed, if any, to be able to outspeed the things you want when you times 2 your speed. And then from there, you just get away with going Modest, throw the rest in HP. Golduck is generally built a special attacker, so it's going to use things like Scald. You can also soak things if you want to be able to enable your teammates to do cool combos there in VGC. But yeah, like Ice Beam, I think if it still gets Encore, that's a really cool move that it gets that not a lot of other Pokemon get. Yo, Merry Christmas, Shoya. Gets Yawn, which is cool. Ice Beam, super standard screens. I tried listening to Worlds in 2017. I'm a big fan of Golduck, and the one that I used was Timid, so you definitely can use Timid. But, you know, Modest is good as well. Primeape. It's a 105, right? No one these... Oh, it's 95. I always thought Primeape was 105. I always thought Primeape was 105. Huh. Always thought that. Oh, well, you know, it's just like Arcanine. Base 95 Pokemon. It's 105 attack, right? But 95 base speed is really important. So you, again, you want to be a plus speed boosting nature. You want to be able to punish those Pokemon like Salamence, even like Garchomps, but like Zapdoses, Salamence, Staraptors, all those Pokemon that have base 100 speeds. And if they want to try and get cheeky and go like Adamant or Modest, you can punish them by going with this Primeape and be Jolly and outspeed them. And it's great because Primeape gets a bunch of coverage moves. I've been a big fan of Primeape for a while. It gets Final Gambit if you want to use that, so that's always really good. But it gets like Outrage, it gets Stomping Tantrum, it gets obviously big fighting attacks like Close Combat, it gets Encore, it gets Counter, it gets Beat Up. It used to get all the Elemental Punches, it gets Taunt, it gets Rock Attacks. What's another cool move? I didn't know it got Overheat. That's kind of cool. That's actually super cool. Tech that for Scizor, right? But no, it gets U-Turn, which is really nice. I would definitely use like Primeape if I had one, because it also gets Defiant, which is a really, really cool ability. You see, you ran Wild Charge on Arcanine to Oko, Kiss and Gyarados. You don't need... Wild Charge isn't that great against like Togekiss. You can just Flamethrower or Flare Stat. But yeah, in terms of like Arcanine, you losing Wild Charge, like Arcanine's not supposed to have that move. Back in Gen 4, it didn't have it, which makes sense why it doesn't have it in this game. When are you going to make more team building videos? I'm making a team building video right now. That's what this is. I'm showing you guys how to correctly speed tier your Pokemon. That's what this is. Back in Black and White, I'd always get bullied by Primeapes. I was so bad. Yeah, Primeapes are good mon. Primeapes are definitely a usable mon. It's great in the lower tiers. It's probably one of the best pivot U-turn mons. It plays kind of like a Infernape, but with like a little bit lower stat line. So it's a good mon. Here it is. There's the Arcanine, right? We were talking about Arcanine all the time. Arcanine is a really good speed stat, a really good attack and special attack. So Arcanine can be built physical or special. You can build it in VGC as like a wall with heavy HP defense or heavy HP special defense investment. Literally, similar to Nidoqueen, this Pokemon can do anything. It can be bold, it can be impish, it can be calm, it can be careful, it can be modest, it can be adamant, it can be timid, it can be jolly. All of those are the right nature for this Pokemon, right? It just depends on what you wanted to do in your team. Do you want it to come in and soak damage and apply like Will-O-Wisps and Snarls? Maybe pick like a bold or calm nature. Do you want it to be like a Choice Scarf Revenge KO mon? Maybe think about going like adamant or modest. Do you want it to be like a Life Orb Revenge KO mon? Think about going like jolly or adamant or even modest or timid in that situation. So it's a really, really good mon. My personal Arcanines that I've used a lot of the times, I'm the first person to ever top cut a regional with Arcanine, and the one that I used was Adamant. That's because I really put a lot of value in physical Arcanine with extreme speed. So I think that you want to make your E-speed hit as hard as possible to make it a good revenge KO mon. So I like to go heavy attack on my Arcanine. So things like extreme speed, it still keeps close combat, it still keeps Flare Blitz. It's just a really, really good ability. Oh my goodness, Deathmask Divine, subscribing for 11 months. This is my wonderful, amazing girlfriend, and she's gonna start streaming soon. So what you guys can actually go do like right now, if you want to be absolutely amazing, is go check out her Twitch and drop a follow on it, because she's gonna start streaming some games relatively soon. So go click that and drop the follow on it. I'll do it right now too. because like she hasn't started streaming yet. There we go. Follow, easy, easy. But she's gonna start streaming, so go check her out. You know, Arcanine tanks so well; those stats are legendary. It also is like the legendary Pokemon, is what it's called. It's like, there we go. It's the legendary Pokemon. It also gets like Intimidate, Flash Fire, and Justified. It's a really, really good mon. But I prefer like Jolly and Adamant Arcanines. Aerosmith95 says, hey man, came across your YouTube channel and I'm absolutely enjoying the content. Do keep up the great work. Looking forward to many more videos. Yo, we upload videos every day. We also have Timid 2021. I think that's the name. Merry Early Christmas. That's right. Merry Early Christmas. I got a Jolly Growlithe earlier. Perfect timing. Yeah, Jolly's totally fine. A lot of people like going Jolly because, again, it forces your opponents to, you know, be Jolly and Timid as well. And then even if, like, let's say you're forcing them to be Jolly and Timid. Like, let's say you're using Arcanine and they're using Zapdos. And you're like, I could hit that Zapdos. And let's say you try and hit the Zapdos. And they outspeed you in Thunderbolt and they kill you. You're like, okay, I now know that this Zapdos is full speed investment. Full speed investment Zapdoses aren't as bulky as they should be, and they can be taken advantage of by other members of your team. So if you know a Zapdos is full speed, maybe use a Pokemon that, like a Garchomp that's a little bit faster, or you use like an Azelf or Infernape or Pokemon that's just a little bit faster than that Zapdos, and when you do make contact with it, it's going to be frail, right? So it's a win-win, like testing those waters a lot of the time, especially in like a best of 3 situation, to see what you can get away with. And that's why I really recommend going with like a full speed set to force your opponents to match you at that level. And if they don't, cool, you just Flare Blitz them. That's a win right there. You don't even have to go in and test in the waters anymore. Let's see, Poliwrath. Poliwrath's another Swift Swim user. Another Swift Swim user. This one's going to be, it also gets Water Absorb, which is okay, but Swift Swim's nice, and similar to like Vileplume, it's not that fast. You might have to go Jolly here. I guess it's more similar to Sandslash, right? Where it's kind of fast. I would go Jolly on my Poliwrath even if I was playing it with Swift Swim, just because like that's a little bit on the slow side. Like, let's see how fast we actually get. So like Poliwrath. So like a 252, let's set it to level 50. Base, so 200 is the number we're looking to outspeed here. And let's go with like a Jolly nature. Yeah, that's fast enough. Do we need it? Do we need to be Jolly? Actually, we don't even need to be Jolly then. So yeah, you can get away with going Adamant. You can get away with going Adamant because this would double into outspeeding 200. So it's okay if you want to go Adamant, but I would recommend going, I'd still go Jolly personally, just because you want to be able to outspeed things. Like, you'd be outsped by random Scarf Mons if you weren't Jolly. So it's going to also be Volt like physical. You could go special, it's just not nearly as good. It gets access to like obviously fighting attacks. I think it still gets like Ice Punch probably, and like access to big water attacks as well. What side is that? So this is Pokemon DB, and then this side is Pokemon Showdown. So Poliwrath's up. Waddle, how's it going, my friend? We're going to Alakazam. Alakazam's very similar to Dugtrio. It has 120 speed. So you want to force things to have the correct speed tier. And you want to know, like, you being 120, either if you're faster than something or slower than something, you're able to correctly know what they are. And for example, like, let's say if I'm like using an Alakazam, right? Right, so Alakazam with just full speed investment, let's set this to level 50 because like that's just how it works. If I want to go full speed investment, like 172 is what I am normally. And if I'm timid, I go up to 189. If I were to be like this, like watch, let's just plug in like a Charizard. And let's make our Charizard 252 as well. And make it like timid. So Charizard can get to... So Charizard gets to 167. So a timid Charizard doesn't outspeed an Alakazam, right? Even if I'm full speed timid Charizard, I cannot outspeed Alakazam. So if all you need on your team is to outspeed base 100s, go modest then. You know, you could totally get away with going modest. You're always going to be able to outspeed that Zard. And the only way the Zard would ever outspeed you is if you were like Scarf Zard, right? But the thing is, like, Alakazam doesn't want to get outsped by Gengar. Alakazam doesn't want to get outsped by Dugtrio. Alakazam doesn't want to get outsped by Raichu, by Rapidash, by Tauros, by any of those mons that are like around that base 105 to 110 level. So to keep up with those things and make sure you're outspeeding them, remember, if you're going first with Alakazam, if you're going to be full speed, its common item is a Sash. So you'd be able to hit them with a Psychic, they'd hit you, and then you'd hit them again. You want to be able to go first in those situations so you can always outspeed them and get and just like revenge KO things correctly. So just make sure that you're full speed on these guys. Timid is the nature to go for Alakazam. There's very few situations where you'd ever want to be modest, and one of the only ones is like a Choice Scarf set. What's your favorite competitive Pokemon? I like Butterfree. That's my favorite one. Machamp. Someone asked for Machamp. It's been like an hour. Here we are. Machamp can be built a couple different ways, but it gets usually built with like No Guard for Dynamic Punch. And normally Machamp, remember, guys, put your natures in your highest stats. They give a 10% boost, so you want the biggest return on your 10% investment. So Machamp's are usually built either Adamant or Brave. Or sometimes you see Machamps that are built Jolly. And there's a reason for it. So Machamps.com over here. If we go like 252 speed, and we give it this, you got perfect timing on those Pokemon. Aha, I was planning to add Alkazam. Yeah, Alkazam's great. I have one of my game on these too. So like a full speed Machamp that's Jolly gets to 117. So basically the way this is going to work, the way an item like a Choice Scarf would work, is a Choice Scarf will give you a 1.5 boost to your speed stat. So we take half of this number. So the easiest way to do that is like, so it's 50 plus like 7. So 57 plus this. So it's going to be 24. 174 is what this guy gets to, roughly, maybe 173. Remember how I said this outspeeds Alakazam? You really don't want to get outsped by +1 base 55 Pokemon if you're modest. It's another reason you want to go timid. I'm glad you see how I did these in order. I planned this ahead of time. So Machamp like outspeeds base 120s if they're not natured. And so it's really, really important that, you know, that's a perfect example of why we go natures, plus speed natures. Choice Scarf Machamp sometimes does see play. It outspeeds all those base 100s and uses Dynamic Punch and good coverage moves. And it's a very niche set. You don't see it as often. It's still a cool set. I like it. But normally with Machamps, you're going to want to be just Adamant. Adamant, and the only times you would ever be Brave, which is plus attack minus speed, is if you were on a Trick Room team. And that'd be on like a 0 speed, like speed reduced nature Machamp. And that's basically how that works. So Machamp's going to be Adamant or Brave, and if you're Scarf, you're going to be Jolly. Sorry, yeah, Scarf Jolly. Victory Bell. So Victory Bell is probably the best chlorophyll mon in this game because it just comes with the best coverage, because I still think it comes with Weather Ball. For some reason. I don't know why they give this Pokemon Weather Ball. Yeah, Weather Ball changes its typing to be like the type of the weather. So like basically this Victory Bell has fire moves. So this Victory Bell, because of its Weather Ball, that's a special attack. You're going to want to be, you're probably actually still going to want to be timid here. You could get away with going modest. We've talked about how 70 technically works, but I'd want to be as fast as possible just because, like, again, Victory Bell is the best chlorophyll mon. If you're ever going to fight against another Victory Bell, which is the one chlorophyll mon you'd be fighting against, you want to be able to outspeed them and hit them with the Weather Ball first in the sun. So I would probably go timid Victory Bell. You can also talk about, look at that huge attack stat. In singles, Victory Bell is not really built that much as a chlorophyll mon. It's built more of like a Swords Dance submon. So if you want to go physical Victory Bell, you're also welcome to do that as well. I think Victory Bell, it used to get Sucker Punch, but I don't think it has it. I think they give it like Knockoff instead. So it doesn't get Sucker Punch anymore, which is fine. But Victory Bell is still a really good mon, and if you're going to go physical, you'd probably want to be Jolly. I think this 70 base speed stat is just enough to let you outspeed the things you need to outspeed. And I'd either go with like a Jolly or Timid set for this guy. Tentacool. Tentacool's a really cool mon. A lot of people tend to look at Tentacool and see it's like massive Sped F stat, and they're like, oh yeah, just go Calm. I think Tentacool is actually best built because its ability is Clear Body. It doesn't get the ability you like uses Clear Body. It doesn't get stat drops, so it doesn't have to care about Intimidate, which means I actually really like to build these guys Jolly. And the reason I go Jolly is because base 100 in that really, really popular speed stat. You can go Timid or something if you want, but base 100, really, really good number. You get access to, I think it still keeps Swords Dance, and that's what we're looking for. Swords Dance. So it gets Swords Dance right here. So if you can steal a free turn with Swords Dance, you can go Swords Dance, you can go the Waterfalls, Poison Jabs. It gets a bunch of other cool stuff as well. NWO Castle dropping the sub 7 months. Pretty funny that Gengar can't learn poison moves through level up or egg moves. Yeah, that's kind of just how Gen 1 worked. Yeah, Swords Dance Waterfall slept me today. Yeah, there you go. So I personally think like this is the best way to go with Tentacool. But I guess talking about general Tentacool spreads, most people like to use this as like a Rapid Spin mon. They'll go Sub, they'll go Scald, they'll go Rapid Spin, and then like Ice Beam. That's the general way people play it with like full HP Sped F build. And that one's built usually Calm. But I still feel like if you want to be like meta dominators, try the physical one. It's really, really nice. So what's going on, homie? We're just talking about every single Pokemon, and we're breaking down all their abilities and stuff like that. Not all their abilities. We're giving a little bit of a competitive like talk about their natures and stuff like that. Does it get Toxic Spikes? I think it does, but I don't think that I've ever cared I don't even see him. I don't see the toxic spikes. It gets toxic though, I think. No, it doesn't. It doesn't even get toxic. This Pokemon sucks. Alright, Golem. Similar to Machamp, this guy has a massive base attack stat. You could talk about going with an Impish set, but your ability is going to be sturdy here, so we don't really care about how much damage we're taking. I would say Adamant or probably Brave is the best one to go here. If you want to go Impish to make yourself full HP like defense, you totally can. There's nothing wrong with that. Golem's not terrible. But it's just better to go like Adamant in this situation. Gets a bunch of really good moves. Gets Stabbed Earthquake, Stabbed Rock attacks, Big Explosion, potential for Stealth Rocks, Heavy Slam's a lot of damage, Hammer Arm's a decent move. It gets access to... Flamethrower was usable back in Let's Go to check specific mons that were weak against that. It was a niche set. But yeah, it's generally just like a Rocks / Explode mon. You don't really see a lot of people use Golem. Has good stats though. Golem has good stats, but again, probably just an Adamant or Brave. Yeah, Speed Boost from Rapid Spin didn't start until Gen 8. But it's nice. There's a lot of Pokemon that benefit from it. I made a team that got uploaded to Patreon yesterday that showed off a really cool Delibird set that gets it. Rapidash is in a pretty unique spot because it's a 105 base speed mon. So because it's a 105 base speed mon, you want to make sure you still always have that advantage over every single other base 100. So you should probably go in with a physical Rapidash if it's a bunch of physical moves like Drill Run, like Mega Horn, like Flare Blitz. It also gets access to like Hypnosis and a bunch of other really cool support moves. I think it's one of the only Pokemon that still keeps Ally Switch as well. It gets Flash Fire, which is an amazing ability, and Jolly's the nature you want to go here. Just because you definitely want to keep those things up. Take a look at Slowbro. The best natures for this guy, they go all over the place. Obviously, any nature you want on Slowbro, you're going to want to be speed reduced. Anytime 30 is like the number. Remember I said base 100 is the number for fast. You want to go play into that. 30 is the number where if you're at 30, you want to be speed reduced, so you always can play in Trick Room correctly because 30 is like the base 100 of Trick Room. It's a good mental note to make. So if you're 30, just be speed reduced and go 0 IVs in speed, so you can always underspeed or at least force them to speed tie you into underspeeding. But with Slowbro, you want to be anything that lowers your speed. You can be either Relax, I think, which is lower, which is boost defense. You can be Quiet. You can also be Sassy. Right, so it's all viable on Slowbro depending on how you want to build it. If you want to build a more special defense oriented one, I would suggest using a Slowking instead and then making it like Sassy. But obviously the more common ones are going to be Relaxed and Quiet. Slowbro gets a bunch of really cool moves. It gets Regenerator, it gets Oblivious, it gets access to Flamethrower, which is really weird. So this guy is a really, really good check to Scizor. It gets Flamethrower, Scald Psychic, Calm Mind, it gets 50% Slack Off. And again, Regenerator is such an amazing amazing ability, being able to restore, I think 25% health every single time it switches. So you come in, soak damage, do some stuff, switch out. You're absolutely amazing. Slowbro's really, really good. Like this thing, like people like to say my Blissey's a problem. Slowbro's more of a problem than Blissey. My Blissey's built to look like a Blissey, but play like a Slowbro, right? That's the thing. Blissey gets the fire attacks, the ice attacks. Slowbro stabs Scalds instead of Thunders and stuff like that. But then having the really, really bulk with a good ability and like recovery options. So that's the thing, is everyone's like, that's uses Blissey as a crutch. No, I use Blissey because I want to use a Slowbro. I don't have a Slowbro. I should use both of them together. That'd be a really cool team. But you see what I mean? Like Slowbro is just absolutely nuts. It has a much higher special attack stat than Blissey as well, being a 100. Ain't no Blissey like a THATSAplusONE. That's right. I should get a Slowbro though. But let's go next. Magneton's actually worth talking about, even as a post. So Magneton is a completely different playstyle from something like Magnezone. So Magneton is a base 120 special attack. These are Pokemon that weren't supposed to get evolutions. This thing's supposed to just be itself. 465 is a good number. 70 is a good number. 120 is a really good number. It gets Sturdy and Magnapole, which are both very good abilities. Sturdy is going to be built more for like Scarf sets, which is how you play this Pokemon, which is how you play Magneton. And Magnapole is built if you want to build more like a Magnezone. But it's a really, really good mon. And look, if we take a look at Magnezone, right? Magnezone loses all that, it loses that 10 base speed. You needed it. It trades 10 base speed for 10 base special attack and a lot more bulk, specifically in like defense and stuff. But you definitely want to Scarf this thing if you're going to be using it. And to Scarf that, you're going to need to be timid. So that's plus speed minus attack. And it's a good mon. It's a great revenge kill mon, very bulky, and has like a built-in sash from Sturdy. So Magneton's definitely worthy of being used just by itself. Good for checking Scarm. Yeah, it's great for checking Scarm. If your team's super weak to Scarm, just put Magnapole on it, switch in the Magnezone, and just Thunderbolt it away. How are you, my friend? Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday. That's right, Happy Holidays. Farfetch, built Inner Focus and Defiant usually. And the nature for this guy, I'd go Adamant. because like it doesn't really have a ton of speed boosting options. It might get like agility. I think it does. All birds get agility. There we go. There's the agility. It gets like Leaf Blade. It gets Swords Dance. It gets Brave Bird. It gets a bunch of cool options. I think it gets like a Fighting type attack too. It's a good mon, but I would still, if you're going to go full agility, if you're going to run agility, obviously you're going to go full speed Jolly. That's how this is going to work. But if you're going with like a standard sash set, you're probably just better off going adamant and hitting as hard as you can. But I would not recommend anyone use Farfetch. The only person that's ever used actual Farfetch in an event is Wolf Glick. That was in 2019 at like a throwaway regional. And he actually did pretty well with it. What happened to the beard? We shaved it. No more beard. We shaved the beard a while ago. It was getting very itchy. Dojo. Dojo is such a cool mon. I think Dojo is amazing. It has 110, and that's like the number. Like, it has 110 attack and speed. Like, 110 makes you so good at just automatically giving you a leg up on all of the base 100s. You're actually going to realize a lot of the mons that I'm talking about that have above base 100, so it's Raichu, Gengar, Alakazam, Dugtrio. You're going to want to sash all of these a lot of the time. And even with Dojo, yes, you get like Brave Bird, stuff like that. You can use Drill Peck instead. You want to sash them because you just trade effectively. If you're a base 100 mon like a Charizard or a Staraptor or a Zapdos or something like that, and I come in with Dojo, I hit you once for like 80%, you clock my sash, I hit you again. I've taken you out, I'm still on the board, and then I can use another move against your next mon. That's trading like cost effectively. That's like trading one Pokemon for 1.5 of another Pokemon. So that's super effective. The only reason they're able to have that bully potential is because they're base 110 speed. So it's super, super strong. I don't know if this thing still gets Jump Kick, which is what it used to get in the Let's Go games. I don't think it does. I think it took that off because that was really, really good coverage. It gets Swords Dance, it gets Roost, it gets Defog if you want to use it. It gets Taunt, which is super nice. So you can go Taunt on like a Stealth Rock setter. They're going to have to switch. On that switch, you pop a Swords Dance. And then from there, you probably have like Drill Peck, and Lunge is a solid option as well. You can go Thrash if you wanted. It gets Stab Quick Attack, which is actually not bad either. So good mon. Definitely worth respecting. You have to be Jolly there. Dugong. I was the Dugong Master Trainer for a long time in Let's Go. Thick Fat's a good ability. Hydration's okay. With Dugong, you generally want to build this thing more special defensively because you want to play in that huge SpDef stat. And also, like, the two type of moves that you're going to be mitigating with Thick Fat are Fire and Ice. Those are predominantly special attacks in this game. Obviously, like, that's it, but what about Flippets and Icicle Crash? Things like Flamethrower and Ice Beam are a lot more common. So you want to go into SpDef in that situation. Do you run Double Team on any mons? Double Team is banned in singles, so you do not run Double Team. I used Eevee Evolution Team that's on Patreon to play against other people, and it was the best. That team worked? Cool. I hope the Glaceon worked. The Glaceon's actually really cool on that team. But for Dugong, you want to go probably Calm is what I would say. You don't really need to put points in speed. This is one of those Pokemon someone asked me earlier. When do you differentiate going full speed and bulk? And Dugong's a good example of a Pokemon that you play more into the bulk aspect because it would never get anything out going full speed. It's not a Pokemon that has the ability to boost its speed even further. I mean, it might get agility, I think, but I don't think it, yeah, it doesn't even get an ability to do those things. So Dugong's built much more bulkier. Normally people like to play Dugong in doubles with like Encore, Fake Out, Perish Song, and then like a switching move or like just a random Scald or something like that. Sometimes just Protect and they don't run any attacks on it and they just play just straight for Perish and Perish Trap. That's the best thing Dugong brings to the table. I like Dugong though, it's a cool mon. And just generally make it bulky. Muck. So no Lola Muck in this game, unfort. Muck's really cool. With Muck, there's a couple different things you can do. It's not that great of a mon though. The only reason a Lola Muck was ever good because it has a better ability. This thing does not have Gluttony, which is a good ability. And it's just not going to be that great. You could go Adamant, or you can go Careful. These are going to be attack boosting and SpDef boosting. And just Muck just really falls short. There's a lot of other poison types to use. There's not really a single reason in the game to use Muck over something like a Gengar, if you're looking for just poison attacks. Or even if you're looking for like a physical poison attacker, Arbok comes with a lot more. It has a higher base attack, I think. It might be close, but it comes with Intimidate, right? Which is such a better ability with a faster speed tier. So yeah, I would say Adamant or Careful. And then again, the cool thing that Muck can do, you could also go with like a Brave Nature, which cuts your speed, which allows your special attack to still function correctly. And you could even go for like Giga Drains and Flamethrowers. I think Muck gets both those options. It gets Taunt, which is okay. Yeah, there's a Flamethrower. So if you're like looking for checks to Scizor and you want unique stuff like that, you can do that if you want. And like Thunderbolts for like Gyarados. But like that's just not great. It's just not great. Are these nature being considered for singles and doubles? I talk about them when I talk about them. So it's like, I usually mention if it's like singles or doubles specific. But yeah, these are both being considered for both singles and doubles. How would you build Dragonite with its base 80 speed? I'll talk about it when we get to it. Why is Double Team banned? It's pretty easy to deal with. It's only banned in singles. In doubles, it's easy to deal with because there's 2 Pokemon. But in singles, it's banned because it creates too much RNG. Like, that's not, like, a factor that should be in, like, a competitive game. So it's just banned. Oh, Muk would have been crazy good. Yeah, that'd be too good. Alright, Cloyster. I'm about to blow everyone's mind here. We've already done this calc already. So, Cloyster. What nature do you guys think you go with on Cloyster? I want chat. I want chat to, like, let me know what they think. Let me know what nature to go on Cloyster. Someone says Jolly and Adamant. It's an option. Because there's an answer, and I'm going to blow everyone's mind. Brave. That's not it. It's not Brave. Jolly King's Rock Skill Link. Okay. Jolly. Alright, so everyone's wrong. Oh, not everyone, but, like, you don't need to go Jolly. Everyone goes Jolly on Cloyster. We've already taken a look at, like, calcs from base 70s. Let's just change this to a Cloyster. So change this to a Cloyster. Remember, the threshold that we're trying to outspeed is base 130. And if we take a look at, like, what base 130s are, let's take a look at an Aerodactyl. We can go over here, set this to 50. So a full speed, like, Aerodactyl is going to be 200, right? So we had to outspeed 200. Yeah, Cloyster has a good defense stat. You can build Cloysters like Rapid Spinmon too, with, like, Toxic Spikes and Spikes. That's how Cloyster used to get built back in Gen 4 before it had Shell Smash. But Shell Smash is an ability that Cloyster can get, not an ability, a move. It's going to double its offensive stats and its speed, right? It's a really, really good move, and that's what people like to play with Cloyster. So, if we need to outspeed this, we do not need to have nature here. Like, we just do not need nature in this situation. Obviously, we want to be a special attack reducing nature, but, like, there's no point to put that there. It doesn't get us anything. Like, this, like, gets us nothing. We don't need to be 134 because we're getting a +2. We're doubling this number. All we need to do for Cloyster is get to outspeed this. That's all you need. If you want to outspeed, like, a Garchomp, like a Scarf Chomp, you can talk about that, but you can just Ice Shard a Scarf Chomp. You know what I mean? Like, any Pokemon that we Scarf to base 100, you can probably just Ice Shard it. And just, like, think about it. Common base 100s are things like Zapdos, Staraptor, Salamence, Garchomp's 102, right? You don't need Careful either. You want Adamant is what you want on Cloyster. And then from there, what you would do is you only need that much investment. You only need 84 points because this doubles to 202, which is higher than 200. And again, you really need to outspeed the Pokemon in this tier. It's going to be Aerodactyl, Jolteon, and Crobat. Super important. Can I talk about item? I think Sash is the best. But, like, obviously, you don't need to Sash it if your set looks something like this. So with this Cloyster, you can build something like this, right? The Wide Herb lets you actually be able to take attacks. You can just soak the damage, right? You don't need King's Rock either. King's Rock's not needed. You're going to kill them. You're Adamant. You're stronger than most other Cloysters. And depending if you get away with a Shell Smash, you might even be able to go for 2 Shell Smashes, right? So you don't need King's Rock. King's Rock's better in, like, Gen 8. In this gen, there's not as many things that can switch in on it. The only thing that, like, Heatran's your only problem. So yeah, like with this set, you only really need 84 points. So you don't really need to go, like, full speed 252 Jolly. It's such a waste. And again, the only things that would still outspeed you would be, like, Scarf base 100s. So, like, and you should be able to scout that stuff from the team preview. I'm just trying to help you out. So, like, a Scarf 252. So let's set it to level 50, sorry. So 167, so it's going to be like 83. So it's going to be about the 250s. So, and again, if you want to go full speed, if you're afraid of, like, Scarf Zapdos, yeah, then you could talk about a reason we're going Jolly. But in most situations, this is going to let you outspeed anything that's not Scarfed, which means it's the general safest, like, best one to use in most situations. But Cloyster's good. I would use Cloyster if I had one. Let's go to Gengar. Gengar's another one of those 110 mons that we put the Sash on. It doesn't get Levitate, and I'm going to tell you guys this now. Everyone's like, I wish they gave Gengar Levitate. Gengar having Levitate so bad. It was so good with Levitate. If Gengar had Levitate, there would be no reason to use any other Ghost type. Ever. For any reason. Like, Gengar's better than them. Like, straight up. Like, the only other options would be, like, Duskoff's and Sword and Shield, because, like, it's a good Trick Room mon. But, like, you could still even make an argument that, like, Sash Gengar is almost better, especially if it has Levitate, right? Being able to, like, ally switch with Levitate. Like, Gengar would be super nuts when it had Levitate. Like, as someone who, like, took advantage of Gengar having Levitate and top cut numerous and won numerous events with it, this Pokemon was so good with Levitate. Like, there's, like, Miss Magus is a good Pokemon because it has Levitate. It's an actual viable option. And, yeah, Curse Body is also a fun ability, but, like, Levitate makes this Pokemon just actually a little bit too good. Like, you start going to weird situations where Gengar with Levitate is just a better Pokemon than, like, legendaries. Like, I'd rather have a Gengar with Levitate than a Mewtwo on my team. Even if Mewtwo, like, was legal, I'd rather have that Gengar. It provides more synergy to a team. Right? Is that nuts? That's nuts, you know? Because Mewtwo has, like, a way more, like, better stat line and better coverage, but Gengar's just typing is so much better. What about Jellicent? Jellicent's good, but it's not in the game. Is Miss Magus viable? It is. I actually have a team that's, I don't know if it's up on Patreon. I should post it. That uses Miss Magus. Very, very good mon. I do like Frostlass. Frostlass is a base 110 speed mon. Really good. But yeah, Gengar. Gotta go timid. You gotta go timid. You have to force them to respect your authority and respect your speed tiering. Gengar's usually built with, like, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball. Sometimes you see Thunderbolt, Will-O-Wisp. I also like sub-disable sets. So if you ever switch in on something, you can disable, like, their only offensive option and just sub. And so if they can't break you, they have to switch, and then you just get a free sub out of it. So it's a really, really good mon. Gengar's absolutely amazing in Gen 4. Onyx doesn't really see play, so it's not worth talking about, but I think it's funny that Onyx has 45 base attack. It's less attack than Oddish. Would you play with Destiny Bond? I usually always play with Destiny Bond if I'm not using sub for Gengar, yeah. Does Gengar lose to Alakazam? Yes, it does. Because, like, Gengar is 10 base speed lower, so if the Alakazam's 10 base speed faster, and they're both sashed, or if they're both not sashed, if one has a sash and one doesn't, the one with the sash wins, obviously. But, if they're both sashed and both full speed, Alakazam hits Gengar, Gengar hits Alakazam, Alakazam hits Gengar again, Gengar loses. But yeah, Onyx sucks. Hypno. Hypno's a good mon. It gets Forewarn, it gets Inner Focus, which I didn't even know it got Inner Focus. Is Baton Pass Speed Boost Blaziken banned? It is, yeah. I wanted to ask, as I thought a guy with Hackmons all shiny and tried to Baton Pass with Blaziken Speed Boost Swords Dance, then crush him twice and he rage quit. It's banned for Smogon. It's legal in VGC. That's one of the few bans I disagree with, personally. And this sounds really weird. You know, normally when people, like, argue for what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned, when people say something shouldn't be banned, it's because they abuse it. I've never once tried to use Swords Dance Blaziken, like Baton Pass Blaziken. Like, it's not my cup of tea. You think I would like that? I just don't. And I've just always thought that, like, people that really try to abuse Blaziken are, like, a lot easier targets. It's one of those type of things. I think it's so funny when you see people complain. They're like, this person uses stupid meta teams. And it's like, and they're complaining about people using meta. And it's like, okay, if they're using the same 6 Pokemon, you should be able to win very easily because those are super easy to check. Case in point, like, the reason our Blissey works is because every meta team is made up of at least 3 Pokemon that have a 4 times weakness. And then Blissey just comes in and just says, you lose this one, you lose this one, you lose this one, right? It's pretty easy, you know? And Blaziken, for example, cool. Like, if I put up rocks and use a Sashmon, I don't give a shit about your Blaziken, you know? Because you can't do anything. And if you want to go over Tom Pass, you're not lacking the correct amount of, like, offensive options. Like, because you have to run Protect, right? You have to run Sub. You have to run Protect, you have to run Swords Dance, right? And Baton Pass, which means you either don't have a fire attack or you don't have a ground or a fighting attack, which means I can take advantage of that, right? To my advantage. Is Steelix viable in your opinion? Steelix is viable, but it's usually built more like a physical wall with, like, stealth rocks, in my opinion. But yeah, I just don't really think that, like, things like Alakazam are, like, that broken. And that, like, I like it when people use that Pokemon because it makes me win easier. All I need, and because, like, their teams are built around that, and all I need to beat it is a Sash, you know? Like, just a Sash on a Pokemon. And I get to beat it, and then their, like, offensive pressure is just gone. That's my opinion on Alakazam. Or not Alakazam, Blaziken. Anyways, let's talk about Hypno. I didn't know Hypno got Inner Focus. That's cool. So, guys, remember, Inner Focus not only blocks, like, Intimidates, but it blocks, like, Fake Out. So, in doubles, Hypno's an awesome Trick Room setter. Like, I didn't know that it got that. So, if I were to play Hypno in doubles, I'd actually go with something like, you could Mental Herb if you wanted, but I would go with, like, a damage reduction berry, probably Bug. Just because it's so good against Scizor, and I'd go, like, heavy HP defense. This special defense that's so high, you don't need to worry. So I'd go Bolt, or sorry, Relaxed, which is lower speed. And then Hypno just gets Trick Room up. That's sick. I want to build around Hypno. I'm putting Hypno in the team builder. I'm gonna do this after the stream. Hypno is a really, really, really good Trick Room setter in BDSP doubles. I didn't know I got Inner Focus. And like, I think I'm one of the, I thought the hidden ability was Frisk. What's my favorite Mega Pokemon? Probably Sceptile. Yeah, Hypno gets some good moves. It gets Hypnosis. I don't know if it still keeps Flatter. Let's find out. Psycho Cut gets the Elemental Punches. You're not going to use those, though. Rain Dance. Skill Swap. Gives something else Inner Focus. Yeah, Hypno's cool. TR said something I'm messing with. Yeah, it's nice. I thought it was Frisk. So, good stuff. Is there a berry for dark reduction moves? Yeah, there is. It's, something Kasib berry? Maybe that might be Ghost. But yeah, Hypno's cool. I would go with a speed reducing nature and then either boosting something like, you could boost your special attack stat if you really wanted to. It's a little bit low. I'd either go with Relaxed or Sassy. That's what I'd say. So you can go Relaxed, Quiet, or Sassy. All right, it's time for the boy. Kingler's really good. All of these abilities are usable. Hyper Cutter makes so you're immune to Intimidates. Shelter makes so you're not crits, probably the best one of the bunch. And Sheer Force makes it so your moves have secondary effects. Get a 1.3 boost, but they lose that secondary effect. So like Rock Slide just deals more damage. I think Crab Hammer is also affected by that. So most people go Sheer Force. I like Hyper Cutter personally, because while Sheer Force boost is cool, you still do more damage unintimidated than you would with like a Sheer Force boost. And Kingler's unique in that it can be built. I build Kingler Sash usually, and I like to go full speed Sash, which means when I go full speed Sash Kingler, and I'm adamant, I'm outspeeding basically anything that's not full speed investment. So if you're rocking just like a regular wall, like if you're rocking just like a Cresselia or a Fable, I'm gonna outspeed that because I have full speed investment, and I have my Sash to make me, take the one hit, and then I just hit super hard with like the attack stat. So that's how I like to build Kinglers, adamant, just because I feel like you should really put this attack stat to good use. But you can also go Jolly. You can Scarf it. People tend not to go like full HP bulk variants, but those see play in like Gen 8 VGC sometimes. Like G-Max Kingler was built a little bit more on the bulky side because its G-Max attack sharply lowered speed and gave your team a ton of speed control. So you didn't need to go full speed on those Kinglers. But in this gen, especially in singles, I would just go attack. So just adamant. Your Kingler impression is on point. All right, Electrode. Here we go. My boy. I need to get one of these, man. I don't have one of these yet. Electrode is sick. 150 base speed, one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. You gotta go Timid. And the reason you gotta go Timid is because, if we take a look at like Electrode here. Remember, we already have that Aerodactyl plugged in, remember? So Aerodactyls gets to 200. If we go to Electrode, if I can spell. So Electrode, if we give Electrode like 252 with speed, and we're gonna be Timid here, obviously, we set to level 50. So Electrode goes to 222, which massively outspeeds the base 130 Aerodactyl. And Aerodactyl is a Pokemon we have to respect, so is Jolteon. So is like Mewtwo if you're playing it against like Ubers. So we outspeed there. But if we take away our nature, we still do it, but like it starts to get to a point where like the problem with still wanting to be timid is a lot of Pokemon, like remember we EV trained this Cloyster to be 202 to outspeed the Aerodactyl exactly. A lot of Pokemon are just barely EV trained with like a Choice Scarf or after like a speed modifier to outspeed Aerodactyl. And so Electrode, you don't want to speed tie those things. You don't want to speed tie like random Scarfed Mons or random Mons that have like a +2 from agility. You just want to overshoot the shit out of that because Electrode doesn't need these other stats. You could talk about the value of going Modest, but it's not really required. It's much better just to play to your strengths and get that like absolutely massive boost to your stats here. Most Electrodes are built like Aftermath with Sash anyways. So like this is a standard Electrode. Will this be up on YouTube? Yeah, I'll probably put it up on YouTube. But yeah, I would definitely still go Timid in this situation. What do you think about Choice Band Lopunny, Ice Punch, U-Turn, Choice Band Fire Punch? I think there's better options for that. That's just my opinion. I think Lopunny's too slow to make that work. Executor. Executor's a really, really cool Chlorophyll Mon. It's similar to Vileplume in that it's 55 base speed, so it's slow, but it also gets Harvest. So like most people tend to play Executor more as like a Trick Room Mon. You play in a little bit of Sun Room, so you can lead it with like Torkoal and Executor, and you can go super fast, but they have to respect your ability to be Chlorophyll or Harvest. You might just be able to protect your Torkoal, set your Trick Room, and Harvest is a really good ability because it makes it so you have like a 50% chance to get your berry back every single turn. So you put like a citrus berry on there and you can just citrus berry every single turn. More often than not though, if you're going to be using it with chlorophyll, you want to be timid. If you're using it in Trick Room, you want to be quiet. So that's the only thing to really know from Exeggutor. It gets access to Sleep Powder, it gets access to Stab Psychic, it gets access to like Leaf Storm, Energy Balls, Giga Drain, stuff like that. And then usually, it gets Psyshock, which is actually a really uncommon move that things don't really get in this game. The one thing that you need to know about Exeggutor is, yes, Exeggutor gets Hypnosis. But if you want to use Sleep Powder, which has a 15% higher accuracy, you need to get Sleep Powder as Execute. So that's like another thing to worry, like that you have to know. I think that's how that works. If I'm incorrect, let me know. It's an egg move, so it used to just be a level up move, I think. But you have to get it. You have to egg move it, so it doesn't just come with it. You know, it doesn't just level up. You can't just hard scale it. So that's one thing to know is like Sleep Powder's egg move. Good mon though. Yeah, how's it going? Marowak. A lot of people have asked me to do Marowak as well. I think in terms of ground types, Marowak's pretty cool because it gets a Lightning Rod. Marowak actually top cut the World Championships in 2013. It was a pretty decent mon because like Thundurus was so big and Marowak was a Pokemon that could work against like Thundurus and Landorus to an extent. And this is before the Alola Marowak. It's just regular Marowak. It's really good in Trick Room, which means it's a good partner for things like Cresselia and VGC. And whenever we mention Trick Room, it's generally like only talking about VGC. Singles Trick Room is just not nearly viable. Marowaks usually like to go relaxed, which is full defense investment. You can talk a little bit about going some attack investment. And remember, Marowak has an item called the Thick Club. I think it is in this game that doubles its offensive stats, kind of like Pikachu's Light Ball, or it doubles its attack stat. So it's a good item. And you just don't need to go full attack investment on Marowak a lot of the time. I personally, when I play Marowaks, I like to go sassy or careful, which means I like to put points in Spadef. It has a really high base defense already, and then use the Thick Club to cover up for the attack stat. So I get the double damage, I get the double investment from the item here. I have a naturally high base defense, and then I go points usually in HP and Spadef. That's how I personally like to play it, but Marowak comes with a bunch of cool options. It gets access to, I think, Stealth Rocks in this game. Still gets Perish Song. It gets, obviously, the big Earthquake. I like Earthquake over Boomerang just because Boomerang can miss. Some people like to tech these special attacks in Marowak every once in a while as well. You're afforded the luxury of doing that because if you're going with like a speed reduction nature, you're not lowering your special attack. And then again, even from like a 50 base special attack, if you put just a little bit of points in this and you're using like 4 times super effective moves, like you can one-shot Scizor, you can one-shot like Garchomps and Salamences and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool mon. The fact that it's Lightning Rod's good. Good for doubles. Hitmonlee. Let's see. Hitmonlee's a cool mon. It gets access to Unburden and Reckless, which are 2 really good abilities. Unburden's only really good in doubles for Hitmonlee, in my opinion, and Reckless is pretty good. How do you get hidden abilities? You have to use the ability patch, or you have to go get like Pokemon through Horde battle. Not Horde, but like swarms in this game. Or like by chaining them with the Poke Radar. But Hitmonlee, I prefer this Pokemon. See, if you're using Unburden, obviously you're going to go with like an Adamant set in my opinion, because this doubles into just such a ridiculously high number. Remember, there's no Regilekis in this game. There's no Pheromosas, Zacians, Calyrexes. You don't need to get to the 160s. So you can get away with just like going Adamant in these situations. I think that's probably just the best situation for this guy as well. I build Hitmonlee similar to how I build Kingler, and that I really want to put this high attack stat to good use. I call it like that mid-range to where like you still want to be full speed to force them to be full speed, but you want to know that you're outspeeding their walls. So things like Absol, Kingler, Hitmonlee, these are all going to be the Pokemon in the base 120s. What about Wigglytuff? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of bits. Yo, that's like 5,600 bits. You actually missed it. We went and talked super in-depth about Wigglytuff. How would you build a Stalwart Suicune? I actually put up a Stalwart Suicune on my Patreon yesterday. Suicune's really good. It's up on Patreon, though. We'll talk about Wigglytuff again since Vector just popped by and gave, like, a ton of bits. Yeah, Wigglytuff's super, super good. I think Wigglytuff's good in both singles and doubles. We talked about competitive being the good ability for it, and we talked about, like, the worthiness of, like, not putting points in HP on Wigglytuff because you'll get diminishing returns. You generally want to put most of Wigglytuff's points into, like, defense, special attack, Spadef, and I talked about being quiet Wigglytuff if you're going to be playing it in almost any, or at least a speed reduction on Wigglytuff, so you can play it generally better against Trick Room. I talked that I think that personally Quiet's probably the best. Bold also has a bunch of solid options. The things that would threaten Wigglytuff are usually going to be things like fighting attacks, steel attacks, and ground attacks, actually, because like things like Gliscor and Garchomp are still really good against it because its defense stat is so low. So heavy defense investment, maybe with like a Bold nature, can work really well. So Wigglytuff is a really, really good mon. I plan on using one soon. It's probably one of my favorite shinies in the whole entire game. I really like Wigglytuff. We also talked about Infernape, but look at Wigglytuff. It has such a cool shiny. Look at that shiny. It has green eyes. It's sick. It's green with envy, but I love Wigglytuff. Thank you so much for the bits. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. It's Merry Christmas. Where are we? We're on Hitmonchan. Yeah, again, with Hitmonlee, I think that you should just play it Adamant. What's the most efficient way to EV train? I think the power items is most efficient, and then you only really do the power items when you have like a bunch of Pokemon to EV train at once. Hitmonchan, we actually used one of these in a video the other day, and Hitmonchan can do a bunch of different things. Obviously, it has Inner Focus, which means it can't be intimidated, it can't be fake outed. It's a really good ability. Iron Fist is great if you want to be aggressive. If you're going to be using if you're going to be using Iron Fist, you want to go Adamant. I like Hitmonchan can do so many different things because these are both really good numbers. I would say you usually never need to go Jolly on Hitmonchan. You don't really need the Jolly. You're either going to go Adamant, Impish, or Careful. Adamant's if you want to hit super, super hard with things like Iron Fisted boosted moves. Careful is really good if you want to mitigate damage from like special attacks and make Hitmonchan better to switch in and soak damage because obviously its big weaknesses are going to be like Psychic and Fairy. Those are the most common weaknesses. Obviously, Flying also counts, but we'll talk about that in a sec. First of all, you don't really have to care about the Flying weakness because they're already going to outspeed you, which means you shouldn't be fighting them anyways because most Flying types are base 100 or higher. But anyways, for special defense, Psychic and Fairy are pretty common, so you don't want to die to those things. So you want to go like heavy HP special defense investment in those situations. But I definitely think that like Impish is probably my favorite because it makes it better able to switch in on those bulky Pokemon that have 4 times weaknesses, right? So we're better able to switch in on Scizor. We're better able to switch in on Garchomp, Gliscor, and Pokemon that we can just go for Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and then take out in one hit. Yo, how's it going? It's going pretty good. So I like Impish, but like Adamant's good, Impish is good, Careful's good, Jolly's usable. It's completely up to you. Lickitung. I'm not gonna talk. Lickitung just gets outclassed by Licky, so we talk about Licky when we get to it. Weezing's usable though. Weezing's great in this game. It still keeps neutralizing gas. I think in doubles, obviously neutralizing gas is the better ability because you can turn off like Regigigas and Slacking. But Levitate's the better ability in singles in my opinion because Levitate's just super good. Weezing historically has been really good in Gen 4, and the way you play Weezing is you just go defense investment. And generally with Weezing, I know you have a higher attack stat, but you have much better special coverage. So you actually want to be bold a lot of the time on Weezing because it gets access to like Flamethrower, Clear Smog, Sludge Bomb, Thunderbolt, things like that. Generally with Weezing, people like to go, sometimes you see Taunt, but it's generally like Will-O-Wisp, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb. That's generally how Weezing's played in singles. Maybe you see Pain Split sometimes. So a defense boosting nature is usually going to be the way that most people play Weezing. It's usually paired with Blissey though because Weezing's poison typing and high defense stat cover up the fact that Blissey has a weakness to fighting and a low defense. What about Lychee Berry Unburden, Hitmonlee with Reversal, Endure? Could you make it viable? I don't think that's viable. It loses the priority moves, right? And every single team's gonna have priority moves somewhere. Hitmonlee's a glass cannon, right? So it's like, it's okay, Yeah, you say you even mentioned it. You say, I think it can carry as long as it doesn't get priority to death. And like good players are gonna have that. Like you just lose the Scizor at that point. You just get bullet punched out. Or ice sharded by Weavile or extreme speeded by like a Lucario or Arcanine. It's okay. It would only the only way that Hitmonlee would see play in singles is if like your late game in like a UU or NU tier. Because like there's no reason to ever do that instead of like using something like an Infernape. So while it could be usable, like again, for a lot of these sets, we're trying to give like the general way to play these Pokemon. And I think that's like a little bit specific, My opinion. That's just my opinion. Not a doctor. Rhydon we'll talk about right here when we get to it. Chansey, there's no Evites, so we'll talk about Blissey when we get to it. Tangle we could actually talk about Tangle just for like a second. Because Tangle is actually, there's a reason to use Tangle even though there's no Eviolite, and that's because Tangle is slower. So you can use Tangela. I think Tangela is slower. Let's just check. Nope, no reason to use Tangle. It's not slower. Lamau. Tangela though gets Chlorophyll and it gets Rage Powder and it gets Sleep Powder. That's the reason to use it. Kangaskhan's worth talking about. Kangaskhan's a really good mon. It gets Inner Focus and Scrappy. So these are really, really good in both singles and VGC. So Scrappy lets it hit Ghost types, which means you can fake out Ghost types. And Inner Focus means it can't be fake outed or intimidated, which means your fake out will always reign true. Which means if you're a team that you need your fake out to work, to make it so you can stop Trick Room, or you need your Fake Out to work so your teammate isn't taken advantage of or bullied. Like, you can Fake Out their Fake Out users, and Kangaskhan has a relatively high base speed as well, being 90. So, like, if they're using a Hitmontop and you want to do something with your teammate, you want to set Trick Room, you want to set Tailwind, you want to do something, you can Fake Out their Fake Out user, and they can't really do anything about it. And even if, like, they had a faster Fake Out user like Weavile, they could totally try to, like, Fake Out your teammate first, but then you can guarantee trade Fake Outs with their teammate, and you're just in a really, really good spot. How do you feel about no Eviolite? It shouldn't be in the game because it wasn't in the game, you know? That's my opinion. This is a remake. It shouldn't be in it. I'm getting Pokemon Brilliant Diamond for Christmas, and I'm not sure what starter to use. What starter did you say is the best? Probably Infernape. It's probably Infernape. I like Torterra, but, like, that's just my opinion. But anyways, Kangaskhan are usually built two different ways. You can go with the full speed Kangaskhan and be just like a big bully with like attack and speed, and in general, that was built jolly. The other Kangaskhan's are built super bulky with like HP, defense, and attack investment, and those are built adamant. There's two ways you could pick, so Kangaskhan's either going to be built adamant or jolly. But it's a good mon. We'll talk about Kingdra when we get to it. We'll talk about Sea King here. The Goldfish Pokemon themselves coming hot with that Lightning Rod. Really, really cool, mon. Lightning Rod's a great ability in both singles and doubles. It's better in doubles because it redirects moves into it, so it can get your teammate out of dodge. Sea King, though, we built Sea King before. Sea King's one of those mons that, if you want to go Swift Swim, you can totally go Swift Swim and go Jolly, but I think it's better with the Lightning Rod. And because our speed stat is so low, it's just better to go with like HP and attack investment. And so because it's going to be built that way, I've usually built this Pokemon like a Choice Band or like a Life Orb before. And I generally just go adamant in this situation. It gets a lot of cool moves, though. It gets, like, Mega Horn. It gets Waterfall. Actually, in my first Gen 2 playthrough, I didn't know where to get Waterfall in, like, Silver version. So I actually had to, like, fish up a Goldeen, level it up, because Sea King learned Waterfall on level up. Like, it leveled up to learn that move. And so I didn't know where to get the HM Waterfall. And I was like, what? I can't go to the like, Kanto because I don't know where Waterfall is. And this was, like, before the internet. This is, like, 2004, right? So it's, like, I had to like get good myself, right? Yeah, I always didn't like Eviolite because previous edition Pokemon, that's a better tank than the final evolution one. Yeah, I agree. Eviolite's kind of dumb. It enables the game to be played at like a different tempo than it should be, in my opinion. But yeah, Sea King gets like Horn Drill, Mega Horn, bunch of cool stuff. Does it still get? It doesn't get Drill Run. They took Drill Run off of it, but it still gets Poison Jab, which is a good ability or a good move, and it gets Sword Stance. So I'd go adamant on Sea King. Yeah, it does get Poison Jab. Starmie's up. I love Starmie. Normally these guys are built Natural Cure. Illuminate's not going to do anything. Analytic doesn't work because it boosts power when the Pokemon moves last. Starmie's going to go first because it has a 115 base speed. We've talked a lot about Starmie and Let's Go, and I think Starmie is generally built just as timid. You want to be able to abuse the fact that you're fast. And if you're going modest, you're getting outsped by like base 100 speed Pokemon. You don't want to get outsped by Zapdos. You don't want to get outsped by Salamence or Staraptor or even like Charizard or anything like that. So you want to go timid in this situation. And not only outspeed those base 100s, but also outspeed those base 110s. You want to be able to Psychic those Gengars. You want to be able to finish off those Raichus so they can do stuff to you. And Timid is the way to play for Starmie. It usually gets built with like Rapid Spin. Sometimes you see Recover, but it gets really good access to Bolt Beam, being Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, with access to like Scald and Psychic. Very, very underrated. Not underrated. Starmie's really good. It's been good in every gen. And over the past like probably 5 or 6 years, you've seen a lot less Starmie, but I love Starmie. It's really good. For Water type to have Lightning Rod, very useful. Yeah, it's good. If Pokemon switches in on Starmie and gets the Analytic boost, it's not worth, though. It's not worth. Like, Natural Cure is so good because you can switch to Starmie to Soak. Like, you can make your whole team super weak to, like, Will-O-Wisp. You don't have to run Lumberries. You don't have to do anything. You just literally switch in Starmie whenever you're threatened, soak that, pin that Pokemon out, and then reset your pin. It's super, super good. And that only really works if you're on a Recover Starmie, but it is good. Mr. Mimes we're talking about here. Filter and Soundproof and Technician, all three really, really good abilities. Mr. Rhymes, better in doubles because it's Psychic Fairy typing, very, very underrated typing. It gets access to Wide Guard. Let's see what it gets. It gets access to like Wide Guard, Encore. It gets access to Screens. It gets access to Fake Out. Icy Wind is one of the few Pokemon that keeps Icy Wind in this game. So Speed Control. It gets access to Taunt, Safeguard, D-Gleam, Thunderbolt, like Psychic, all the stuff. This thing gets so many good moves. It's literally like the Swiss Army knife of Pokemon. Thunder Wave and Trick Room, very, very good mon. I think in terms of like how you should play Mr. Mime, I prefer going defense investment, so I'd be playing it on a Trick Room team. And this is one of those weird situations where like if you want to sash it, it doesn't really matter what you do. But this 90 base speed is really nice if you wanted to like use aggressively speed-tiered Mr. Mime to like have an aggressively speed-tiered fake out to fake out their fake out users. You'd also have an aggressively speed-tiered Mr. Mime to make it so your icy winds connect first and enable your teammates. You can go with like I think it still gets like Trick or something like that as well, or just like Switcheroo, so it's a really good mon. Rage Pato, how's it going? I have a Prankster Murkrow for VGC. My set is Foul Play, Tailwind, Protect. Can't decide between Taunt or Attract. You don't want Attract, just because VGC has a lot more legends, especially in this format. Like, you're not going to be able to hit like Latioses and stuff like that. And if you are going to use Attract, you should definitely make it a male. Sorry, a female, because males are so much more common. Things like EVs and starters are going to be almost always, if people are doing them legit, they're always going to come out like 87% chance male, so it'll be female. But yeah, I think for Murkrow, I'd go Foul Play, Tailwind, Protect. I'd probably just go Roost or Taunt there. I'd go Taunt probably. But yeah, or Snarl, I guess. Snarl also works. But yeah, for Mr. Mime, you can go Modest, you can go Calm, you can go Timid, you can do a lot of stuff. You can go Bold, you can go all three of these with speed reduction natures and go full bulk as well. You can be Sassy, you can be Quiet, you can be Relaxed. All of those work. So Mr. Mime's just a Swiss Army knife. You can do a lot of different stuff. Scyther's barely worth talking about as opposed to Scizor. Scizor is going to obviously be better, but Scyther has a 105 base speed, so if you're ever just playing Scyther, common sets for Scyther are full speed, Jolly nature with like Choice Band for big U-turns. It's a common set for Scyther. Or you could also Sash it and go Swords Dance. It's a relatively same thing, but this is a good Pokemon in like the lower tiers. But it's worth respecting because like Scizor gets like half the speed level. Scyther basically trades all its speed for like bulk. They both still get Technician too, which is really nice. But the only set this one really works with is like a Choice Band set. Oh, guys, we're almost there. I can't believe I thought I was going to be able to do this today. We're going to have to cut this up into like 4 parts, I think. Which is fine. Jinx is a good Pokemon. Jinx gets Dry Skin, similar to whatever Pokemon we were talking about earlier that got Dry Skin. It was Parasect. Very, very good ability on this thing. It's going to make it the perfect Sash user. And Jinx has really, really good stats. 115 special attack with 95 base speed. Timid is the nature for this thing. It gets Fake Out. This thing's made for VGC. It gets AoE moves like Blizzard. It still gets a Lovely Kiss, which is a 75% accuracy, being able to put things to sleep. So it gets like a Sleep Powder with the ability to like faster Fake Out than normal. It gets access to like dual stab moves, being like Ice attacks and what is it? Psychic attacks. We see a resub. Caniac subscribing Prime 2 months in a row. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the Prime sub. But it also gets access to like Taunt and a bunch of other really unique support moves as well. So I really am a fan of Jinx. And in singles, I like playing Jinx. You go Lovely Kiss, Nasty Plot, and then you just go like Ice Beam Psychic. You just get ready to roll people over. I've used it. Oh, I think it does get Freeze Dry. Yeah, I think it does get Freeze Dry. Yo, Aeropox also coming in hot with the Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Thank you, both of you guys, for the big subs. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this little guide that we're doing today. But yeah, Jinx is amazing. I've gotten like #1 on a lot of the lower tiers. The content's up on YouTube of it, just using Jinx. Even in like the higher tiers, Jinx is still really, really good because it's an aggressive speed tier on high special attack stat with good offensive typing. Psychic Ice is good offensive typing, and if you can just put things to sleep, you can mess them up. I played against a Dry Sting Jinx the other day, and it definitely surprised my Gyarados. Was cool to see. Yep, like as long you just got to know it. Electabuzz, it's very slightly worth talking about Electabuzz just because it gets a higher base speed stat. It's just like Scyther. Electivire is going to get a lot slower, and so if you want to function at this speed tier, you want to be Jolly or Timid. Both are solid options. It's a good Volt Switch mon if you're going to use the choice specs, and it's just worth respecting if you want to know if they want to go specs or banned. Rapid Panda, how's it going? It's not really worth talking about Magmar. Magmortar is going to be better. Magmortar is just going to generally be a little timid or modest because it's just a little bit too slow to function. Pincer, oh my goodness, the boy, popping it off here. Pincer gets all three these abilities are good. Hypercutter makes it so you're not intimidated. Mold Breaker makes it so you ignore abilities. So you can just hit Shed Ninja with bug attacks. You can hit things with Levitate, with Earthquake, and Mox gives you a +1 attack boost after you get a KO, so it's really, really good. I prefer using Scarf Pincer, which is bad, I know. But 85 is going to be an okay base speed stat. 125 is amazing. You can also go like Sash Pincer. Pincer has a weakness to rocks, but it's still a good mon. I think that like Adamant is a good stat for Pincer. I like Adamant a lot of the time and just going with a Scarf. But you can also talk about Jolly. Jolly's great on Scarf sets too because it makes sure you're outspeeding the threats that you need to outspeed. 85 is a really, really good spot. If it was 80, it would be a lot worse. If it was 75, it would suck. But the fact that it's 85, it's going to put it like above those Pokemon like Absol, like Kingler, and like Muck that we were talking about earlier that kind of just don't have enough speed to make their attack stat work. What happens to Scyther's speed if you level it to 99 and evolve to Scizor? Would it be a fast Scizor? No, that's not how Pokemon works. I think everyone's thought that at some point, but no, it goes to like what their base stats are. All their stats completely change. So, yeah. Anyways, I'd go Adamant or Jolly, though. Pinsir gets a lot of really cool moves, though. It gets access to, like, Bug Attacks. It gets Storm Throw, which is an auto-crit. It gets Swords Dance. It gets Super Power. It gets... Does it get Mega Horn? It gets X-Scissor. That's what it gets. It gets X-Scissor. It gets Earthquake. It gets Rock Attacks. Cool, Mon. I think it gets all that it needs to really be used correctly. Tauros. Tauros is another really good mon. It gets access to Intimidate, Anger Point, and Sheer Force. All three of those are really good. Anger Point says if it receives a critical hit, it maxes its attack stats. So common strats are people using like auto crit moves like, what is that move? The Ice Attack. That I think Frostlass gets it, and a couple other Pokemon. I think Glaceon gets it. You guys will probably fill me in here. But you basically self-hit your teammate with an auto crit move. You can even use like Extreme Speed Togekiss with like Super Luck and a whatever that item is that gives you a Razor Claw to go for like a 66% chance to proc it. And you self-hit your teammate in doubles, and then your Tauros gets +6 attack. And the cool thing about Tauros is, again, it's one of those 110 base speed Pokemon. So you're able to be a bully. You almost always want to be jolly on this thing. Not Wicked Blow. You're not Wicked Blowing yourself. But yeah, so you always want to be jolly. And if you're pairing with the Togekiss, you can go for the Earthquakes and stuff like that. It gets Earthquake. It gets Big Stab, normal moves. It gets Rock Slide. And that's generally how Tauros is played. Try that with a couple Pokemon and backfire. Don't waste your time. I've gotten like really high in the ladder using that same Tauros like stat that I was talking about. It totally works, especially in formats like this where like fake out users aren't as common and redirection's really not as common. The thing that stops it's redirection because like the Tauros and the Togekiss play, you can just double protect block a fake out, and the next turn do the combo. It's a really good tech. Gyarados. Gyarados, this is a good one. Gyarados needs to be built in either format, preferably. If you're ever going to use Dragon Dance on this Pokemon, you make it Jolly. And the reason you have to make it Jolly is 81 is, first of all, faster than every other base 80, and 80 is a really popular number. But you need Jolly to actually outspeed base 130s at +1. Any reason Blissey not Fairy? It's just not a Fairy. That's the reason. But yeah, if we go take a look at like Gyarados here. So remember, if we take a look at Gyarados, this is what Aerodactyl is. So Aerodactyl gets to 200, right? So we take our Gyarados, we set it to 50. And so we're going to be looking at +1 calcs. So if we just go 252, it's going to be half of this added to our total, right? So that's going to be 66, right? So yeah, 66 pretty much. 67. 66. Basically, long story short, you're going to be 1 point slower if you're full speed and an 81 base speed. So you have to be Jolly just to be able to outspeed Aerodactyls and Jolteons and Crobats. 3 things you definitely do need to outspeed. And so you have to be this much speed, but you don't need to be full speed. You can get away with going like 1 or something like that, because you only need to be 1 speed faster than what you were at this. So you just need to get to 134, and you'll be good. And then you can put the rest of the points wherever you want. But you do have to be speed-natured to be able to outspeed Aerodactyl and Jolteon at +1 from a Dragon Dance, which you need to do. Like, it's super important if you're going to be playing these Pokemon to respect those options. Otherwise, like, why even have Dragon Dance? But, yeah, I do think Gyarados is an amazing Pokemon. Normally, they're built like Dragon Dance, Waterfall, Earthquake, Taunt. It doesn't have Power Up in this game, but it's still a really good threat. Lapras, here we go. Lapras is built more often than not with Water Absorb. Shell Armor is not that popular just because its G-Max form is what made this thing good. Huge base HP. I would say Lapras is more so built as like a Perish user in like VGC. So that's basically what Lapras is always going to be doing. In singles, you don't really see that much Lapras. I know people like to meme and say like physical Lapras is the thing because it gets like Ice Shard Stab, it gets like Waterfall, it gets like it gets good physical options. Let's see. Like it gets does it get Mega Horn in this game? There's the Freeze Dry right there. It gets Fisher. It gets Dragon Dance, I guess. Yeah, it gets Dragon Dance. It gets some options. It doesn't get Mega Horn in this game. But like it's okay if you want to build it. If you want to build it with Dragon Dance, you're probably going to be going more into like a Jolly set because you want to get your your +2 calcs to work correctly with like heavy speed. If you're going to build it like special, I would think about going Modest or Calm. Lapras can do a lot of different things. It's similar to like Nidoqueen, where like as long as you're using any of these stats and playing into it, you're playing it the right way. Did I miss going over T-Tar? No, we're not even going to get the T-Tar today. We've already been doing this for 2 hours. I'm going to have to cut the video into like 4 parts, I think. But, yeah, so right now we're on Ditto. Ditto doesn't matter because it just copies your opponent. It uses Imposter and uses Transform to copy your opponent's stats. So Ditto, the only stat that matters on Ditto is HP, and you can't put a nature in your HP. So Ditto's going to copy whatever their stats are, whatever their boosts are, but it's going to keep this 48 base. So you always just want to max your HP on Ditto, and it doesn't matter what your other stats are. Eevee's not going to matter. Vaporeon here. Where is Eevee in this game? I don't know where Eevee is. But Vaporeon's really good, and it's probably one of the better EVs for singles because it has really, really good stats. 130 base HP is huge. I prefer to go Vaporeon with like a bold nature, and that's just covering up for the fact that it has a much lower defense than its other stats. It doesn't really need investment in a special attack. It doesn't really need investment in special defense or speed. So usually bold is always the nature people want to go with on Vaporeon. They build it tend to build it more like a Suicune. And yeah, I think Vaporeon's great. I think most people like to go like Wish, Yawn. Sometimes you see Scald. It's a great Wish Passer. It's a great mon to come in and alleviate pressure, and then from there threaten with Scald or like switch out to do something else. So I really do like Vaporeon a lot. Another thing about the EVs is every single one of these EVs is going to have 130 base in some stats. So Vaporeon has 130 base HP. Jolteon has 130 speed. Flareon has 130 attack. Leafeon has 130 defense. Glaceon and Espeon have 130 special attack. Sylveon also has 130 base special attack. So where they put their 130 is a really, really important number because 130 is just a really, really good number. With Jolteon, for example, you always want to be timid. We've talked about Jolteon being like the threshold for what like a fast Pokemon is in this format. And so first of all, you don't want to get outspeed by other Jolteons, but you need to be 130 to outspeed things like Alkazam, the other 120s that are like right behind you as well. So you need to be timid on Jolteons. Jolteon loses Reflect in this gem, but it still keeps Light Screen, so you can go Light Screen, you can go Volt Switch, Thunderbolt. It still gets Yawn. It's still a great Wish Passer. You can go Wish, then Volt Switch into something. So it's still a really, really, really good mon in this format, in my opinion. Flareon. I think Banded Flareon's probably the best way. I think that Flash Fire is just better than Guts. All that work using like that orb, like a Toxic Orb, it toxics you. All that work to get +1, and then you just get intimidated. You're much better off just going Flash Fire, throwing a band on this thing, using things like Flare Blitz and like Quick Attack to just try and be a bully. I think it still keeps Superpower. Does it still keep Superpower? I don't know if it doesn't. It doesn't keep Superpower. That sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Flareon's just kind of not great. I like Flareon a lot, but I do think that it's just best built with like Choice Band and just try to like steal big damaging moves off people. Porygon, I'm not going to see a lot of Porygon just because, Porygon 2 and Porygon Z are in the game, so we'll get to those eventually. Omastar here, it's going to be built a lot like Cloyster, but it's a lot slower. So this is a Pokemon that you might have to go plus speed nature into, because again, we only have to get Omastar to... Let's take a look at Omastar here. We just have to get Omastar to outspeed in the Aerodactyl, so let's take a look at Omastar. Lord Helix himself. So we just need to get this to 101. It gets it, so you don't even you can go Modest. Modest is the nature for that guy as well. Modest is going to be the best nature there, and that means you can just go Modest, like full HP, full special attack, and you're just going to be in a good spot. And normally it's built with like Shell Smash, Ice Beam, Scald, and like Ancient Power, or some sort of like rock special attack. It's really, really cool. Kabutops. So Kabutops, it gets Swift Swim as its general better ability. And normally Kabutopses are built like full speed, and they're normally actually still built Jolly. I don't think you need to be Jolly. I think like Adamant Kabutops with like a Sash is going to be pretty nice. It gets Swords Dance, it gets Aqua Jet, X-Scissor. It used to get Leech Life. I don't think Leech Life is good in this game. It's still an 80, so yeah, Leech Life's going to be better than X-Scissor. So like Liquidate, Leech Life. It gets access to like Stone Edge, Rock Slide, things like that. It still gets Rapid Spin, which is nice. But yeah, I generally think that Adamant or Jolly is probably going to be the best ability for this guy. And then we have Aerodactyl. Do you think Modest Starmie with Choice Scarf? No, that would be not good at all. Because Starmie doesn't need it, right? It just doesn't need it. Starmie's best set is like a Rapid Spin Mom with like additional coverage. Any tips on how to find Aerodactyl Fossil in BDSP? I have no idea how to find the Aerodactyl Fossil. I know some people have it. But Aerodactyl is another really good mon. We've talked a lot about it as being like the cruise control for cool in terms of speed. You gotta be Jolly in this situation. You don't want to be Adamant, especially because Aerodactyl is a really popular Pokemon, and you don't want to lose speed ties to other Aerodactyl, and you do not want to lose speed ties to Jolteon. You want to be able to Earthquake those Jolteons and Rock Slide other Aerodactyls. Rock is not very effective against Rock. You will one-shot the other Aerodactyls with a Rock Slide or a Stone Edge. So really good mon. Snorlax is up. Snorlax, the sleeping Pokemon. Gluttony is a good ability if you want to play it in VGC. With like Belly Drum, you can eat your berries early so you can citrus earlier. Thick Fat's really good in singles. Immunity is actually okay as well if you don't want to rock Rest and you don't want to care about getting Toxic stalled. But Snorlax is really good. Preferably with Snorlax, you can go... This is that base 30 speed, so you want to be a speed-reduced nature almost every single time on Snorlax, unless you're really caring about the Snorlax mirror. So whatever you're going to do, you can do a Brave, you can do Relaxed, or you can do Sassy. All three of them are super viable, just depends on what you want to do. If you're going to play more of like an aggressive Belladrum/Curse set, you want to be something like Brave. If you want to play more of like a wall set, where you're using like Yawn and other status moves and stuff like that, and Gender's being a really bulky threat, with like Rest and things like that, you'll play more of a Relaxed set. If you want to play more of a Pokemon with like Thick Fat that mitigates special attack damage from like fire and special attack ice attacks to switch in to alleviate pressure from things like ice beams and flamethrowers. So if you're using it on a team with like a Garchomp and a Scizor, you want to go Thick Fat, you'd go into a Sassy one in that situation. Hopefully that helps. Articuno. Articuno can be built a few different ways. I like Scarf Articuno, I like Sash Articuno, and because Articuno is already base 85, it's built similar to the Pinsir, to where I think you can actually get away with going Modest here. But a lot of people would say that you need Timid. And the reason I don't really like Timid on my base 85s is because we talked about how like Zapdos is like 167 here. Let's plug an Articuno. So if I were to do like an Articuno, set it to 50, 95, I'm signed up. Sign me up. Make those things jolly and timid. But if I were to go like this, it gets to 150, and then even if I were to take this out, like a timid Articuno doesn't outspeed like a modest Zapdos. So it's not worth it in that situation. So we have 15 base speed difference. So like you're going full speed. It's the only thing it's letting you outspeed is like base 95s that are adamant. So it's missing the speed tier by just a couple points. So you don't really ever need to go timid unless like you have to for a specific reason. So in this case scenario, I like Sash, I like Scarf, I like Specs. I would just go full speed in both these, full speed, full special attack, and just go modest. That's how I would personally play it. And I have teams where I've done that before. Let's go to Zapdos, the bird itself. Zapdos, base 100. So we've talked about this. If you want to actually be aggressive with your speed tier, you'd be timid. Modest is not necessarily good enough in this gen, just because like also Zapdos is super popular. Other Zapdos will be able to hit you before you can hit them, and that's bad. That's really bad, especially in Zapdos mirrors, because you want to be able to roost against other Zapdos, so you can roost to lose your flying typing to make sure their electric attacks are not very effective, so you can actually just win the Zapdos mirror by outspeeding them. And then from there, I also think that there's valuable, if you're going to go with like a wall Zapdos that goes like heavy HP, maybe like defense and special attack, you can talk about just going just modest. If you're going straight wall, like full HP build, you can go modest in that situation. You want to hit hard, or like a spec set that has like HP to like pivot. You can go with like modest. Bold Zapdos is good. I have a team right now that I'm using at the higher part of the ladder that uses a Calm Zapdos. Because Calm Zapdos is really, really good at switching in or alleviating pressure from like Blissey's, Clefables, and stuff like that. Also, it can eat like just Ice Beams and stuff like that. It's really, really good. So I would say Timid's probably the best, but Modest is usable if you're going to be bulky. Calm's good if you're going to be bulky. Bold's good if you're going to be bulky. All of them are really, really good. Moltres, this thing sucks. How to use Moltres? Use a Charizard. Charizard is literally Moltres, but Charizard has 10 more base speed. That's literally it. If you're going to use Timid, though, if you're going to use this guy, you probably want to be Timid. And Timid Scarf is the best set. So it's like played exactly the same as Charizard, just with less speed. So that's pretty much it. With Roost, you lose your flying type. Yep. With Roost, you lose your flying type. For that turn. Just for that turn. So you want to be timid with this guy. Normally it's built with like, just like Scarfzard, it's built with like, it gets Ancient Power. It gets Hurricane over Air Slash if you want to do that, but it also gets Air Slash. It gets like things like Heat Wave, Flamethrower. And that's basically it. You don't really see a lot of these other moves from Moltres. It gets U-Turn too, something Zard doesn't get, but that's more of like a physical set. You'd probably still put U-Turn on a Scarf Moltres set, but Moltres isn't that great. As for Dragonite, I think someone asked this question earlier, how would I build Dragonite? Dragonite has a really unique ability line, being Inner Focus and Multi-Skill. These are two abilities that do like, the things that beat both of them are the exact opposite, right? The things that beat Multi-Skill are Fake Outing it, right? You want to Fake Out to break that Multi-Skill and other priority moves. The things that break Inner Focus, like Fake Out, the things that break Multi-Skill don't work on Inner Focus. So like if you were Fake Out in their Inner Focus, you would just lose the game. And if you want to try to intimidate a Multi-Scale Mom, which is how another way you beat Multi-Scale, it doesn't work in Inner Focus. So it's really, really good. Inner Focus, Dragonite's really good in doubles. Multi-Scale's good in both of them. Dragonite's really, really good. A lot of people would say Adamant, but I think that you actually need to go Jolly. Because first of all, like if we take a look at like, let's go Dragonite over here. Dragonite. If we go Dragonite over here, and we go 252 investment. We set the whole 50. If we just have straight 252 investment, we get, let's see, that's going to be 66. So it's going to be half of this number from a Dragon Dance. So it's going to be a +1 calc. So 66 plus 132 gets to 198, right? Yep, 198. So that's slower than this Aerodactyl. We don't want to be outsped. It's just like Gyarados. So if you actually really do care about outspeeding base 130s at +1, so if you're all using Dragon Dance on Dragonite, you do need to be some sort of speed boosting nature. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Otherwise, you will not be able to outspeed things like Dragonite, Crobat, and Jolteon. 3 really, really common mons. One of them, Aerodactyl, having a super effective move against you that actually just sends you to the Shadow Realm. So you have to be Jolly. Now, you don't need to be full speed Jolly. It's similar to Gyarados. You can cut a lot of these points because that's where you were before, 132. So you just need to get to like 134 or something like that. So it's like, or whatever, one like that, and then one more. So 172 is the number, I think. So that's the number you need to get to because this is going to be, yeah, you get the 201 after this, after +1. I've never even seen a PS5 in a store. Does Iron Ball take away a Flying type too? Yeah, it does. It does. So, yeah, you need to be like, that's your stat line to outspeed Aerodactyls and stuff like that. So I think Jolly's the best nature to go. What about Agility? It's just better. Dragon Dance is just a better move. It gives you a +1. So Agility's okay, but then, like, it's just not as good. So you want to be able to get the attack boost as well. And so I would say Jolly's probably the best on Dragonite. You could also go Adamant if you want to go a full wall set. Like if you don't have Dragon Dance, you want to be full wall and hit as hard as you can. Maybe like a Choice Band set. Definitely go Adamant. You can also talk about going Special Dragonite. And same thing with Special Dragonite. I would say Special Dragonite actually goes Modest more often than not because you want to get as much damage as possible. It gets access to like Thunders, Hurricanes. So in like rain teams in VGC, sometimes you see Special Dragonite using like Draco Meteor, Thunder, Hurricane. Sometimes you have like Thunder Wave, Roost, Protect, stuff like that. So it's a good mon. If you're going to go Special Dragonite, you want to go with the Modest or Timid. But more often than not, you're going to be going Jolly almost every time in Dragonite. And then Mewtwo. I'll give you guys how Mewtwo works. Mewtwo's pretty easy. It's not legal in any format, but Ubers, Unnerves usually better than Pressure, and Mewtwo, similar to like Alakazam and Gengar and Dugtrio and all those other Pokemon, Aerodactyl and Jolteon, you have a 130 base speed, you want to preserve that. You want to be speed natured, so that's going to be timid, and you want to build Mewtwo as a special attacker. And then Mew can do anything. Mew is base 100 across the board, so all of the different Pokemon like Mew, Jirachi, Manaphy, Celebi, all those Pokemon are all 100s across the board. Let me read this comment. Merry Christmas, loving the outfit. Your content is downright awesome. I just got into BDSP competitive to finally kick my brother's butt after years of his shenanigans. No legendaries allowed. Do you think Drifblim, Baton Pass, and a Spirit Tomb will make him curse enough? Not legal, but I want to make this painful. I mean, what's cheating? So it's like... So, like, he could use Drifblim, but, like, what's stopping him from using legendaries? If you're going to cheat, he can cheat, right? Well, if you're going to play, you should probably play the game the way you don't have to play with Smogon rules, but, like, I'm just saying, like, if you're cheating, that would invalidate your win, right? And you know that it's cheating, you know? Saw you run a Salamence and Garchomp party in one of your YouTube vids. What about Dragonite and Garchomp? It depends. Oh, he will cheat. Well, if he's going to cheat, then don't play him. Like, don't. If he's going to cheat, then don't play him. Say, like, oh, I only play people that don't cheat. But anyways, let's talk about Mew. It can do anything. So you can put any nature on this thing as long as it's a correct stat boosting nature, and it will work. So whatever Mew you get in the game, let's go check my Mew. Let's just check my Mew, for example. Because Mew can learn any TM. It learns a bunch of really unique level up moves. It's the only Pokemon that gets, does it still get transformed? So, like, other than Smeargle and Ditto, it's the only thing that gets transformed. It gets, like Nasty Plot, Psychic, Aura Sphere. Most people like to use Mew as a special attacker, but I'll tell you why you don't have to do that. So let's take a look at this. So let's go take a look at my Mew, the random Mew that the game gave me. It's going to be over here. So my Mew is timid. That's great. If I have a timid Mew from my game, I'm going to want to build, well, that no good speed means I'm probably going to want to play it. That's like, that sucks. I'd have to bottle cap that. But like, I want to play it more as like a fast mon. So that'd be like Ice Beams, Scald, Flamethrower with like a Life Orb or a Sash. If you have like a quiet Mew, you could play that more in Trick Room. Or, well, maybe not Trick Room because like Trick Room's not really good in singles. But if you have a bulkier Mew, you can play that more with like different recovery options, Stealth Rocks, and things like that. If you have a physical Mew, you can play that with like things like Earthquake, things like U-Turn and stuff like that probably set Stealth Rocks. And most people would want to set Stealth Rocks with Mew. Yeah, Bottle Caps and stuff like that are in this game. But I would say probably the best nature from Mew is probably still going to be Special because its stab move, Psychic, is going to be a special attack. So probably like a Modest or Timid one. And again, because it's base 100, you generally want to go Timid. So I'm lucky that I got a Timid Mew here. I'd have to Bottle Cap this thing super hard, but I would say Timid is probably the best nature for Mew. DJ Boo dropping the sub, closing into that 3-year sub. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go put some subs up. But holy moly, guys. This took in total on stream over 2 hours. This took in total on stream over 2 hours. And we only just did the Gen 1 decks. Oh, man. So I'm probably going to have to, like, I'm going to have to go back and do this over the course of, like, a week and upload this video in, like, 4 parts. So if I didn't get to the Pokemon that you wanted me to see, there's going to be more parts to this little series. So in this one, I'll do Gen 1, then I'll do Gen 2, then I'll do Gen 3, and then I'll do Gen 4. Yeah, that's just, it's a lot of work. Holy moly, I'm tired. We have Alex Specs dropping 2 tier 1 subs as well. Thank you. Holy moly. 2 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much. Thank you to Bulu for the sub as well. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. I'm doing my absolute best to bring you guys the best content possible. And I know a lot of people are asking for this type of video where I went over every single nature. And I felt I did a really good job of showing all of like the base stats for everything and generally giving people a much better idea to how to play these Pokemon correctly. So hopefully I helped. If I didn't, you know, you can let me know. But thank you guys for the support. Yeah, we'll get to the rest of the one in the next one.